Does it show the side where it says on air and my fancy stuff?
I have your YouTube channel pulled up right here, and I'm waiting for the live thing to pop up, but I don't show that you're streaming yet. Show?
That's
I
funny. It
don't know.
says I'm on air.
Unless there's
Hmm.
another Sly Guy Night.
There is only one that I am aware of. Oops. Probably didn't mean to do that, did I? Huh. I don't know how it instantly. Oh, does it? Is it not
Oh, there we go.
live on?
I got you. No, 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 no,
Okay.
no. I was like on a weird. It didn't go to your real. Oh snap! Oh, oh shit.
Okay,
Okay,
so
let's
that
mute
is
the
what
video.
shows up. Oh yeah, there you are. Cool.
Yeah, right now we have elapsed time on air, and it has your little 50-cent insert coin to play.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that off though with some of my settings here. We don't want to view the comments, I don't think, is what I'm gonna end up doing. Just so. Yeah. There we go. There we go. That's much better. That's what I like. How do you like that? Boom.
It's just a bunch of popping up and down faces.
Oh, well, yeah, you're behind. It's coming. It's coming. Hold on.
It's delayed. Oh, big smeared. Oh, okay, that's gone. Okay, yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
see?
just straight up. Was this a screensaver you have or something?
No, so it's a stupid. All right, so here's the story. All right, so I like to change my background. That's how we got into all this on the back of my PlayStation. And I was looking at the packs. I'm like, I wouldn't mind spending, maybe $1 for a cool background.
Wait, wait. Are we going into the podcast? Is this podcast right
Yeah,
now?
man, this is all podcast. Yeah, you might as well get started. And you can ask that question. I mean, let's get going.
Should I do the intro?
Yeah, man,
Are we in?
absolutely.
All
Yeah,
right.
this is it.
All
We're in.
right. So I'm probably gonna already have the podcast started now, but everybody who's listening, hello everybody, and welcome to the Eric Hunter podcast. My name's Eric Hunter, and I'm here with my co-host Jared. Knows a whole lot more about PS4 settings than me and I.
I do. I know a lot. We know this because this podcast is brought to you via our PlayStations because my mouse is missing, and that's another scenario. So yeah, this is through the PlayStation.
It's a whole fun setup. We're streaming, so we're going live,
It's true.
podcasting,
It might be a new
and
format too, man. So yeah, streaming might be fun. So you could jump in, maybe throw in comments, interact.
right now, yeah,
Could
right
be
now we're
fun.
just testing it though, so we don't actually have an official Twitch
Nope,
page or
nope.
YouTube page
This
for
is
you to
just my
go
gamer
to.
page. Enjoy it.
But
So Foreman has gotten old, so he's not going to join me in the cracking open up the energy drink. But I can't let the
stop
fans
lying. I
down.
just
So,
had one earlier. I don't
uh,
want to pop two.
all right, you could have faked it with a soda can, my friend. All right, but anyway,
I don't have
Monster
any soda
is
cans.
so 2015. Now I drink 99-cent Ribbits. So this one
Rip
is
it!
Tribute Ribbit Energy. I don't know why we give free air to all these people. Whatever, 99 cents. Here it goes. All right, it's good. This is lemon lime.
Nice. I prefer the 99-cent Venom. Yeah.
I do too.
Actually,
I change them up though.
Venom's used to, I don't know if you remember this, but Venom's used to have by far the coolest can out of any drink ever. But
Agreed. Yeah.
They switched to the lame, like,
Yeah,
regular,
they went
same as
lame.
everybody else can.
Yeah, they were just really nice. Solid aluminum. They just felt good in your hand. I really like that.
Yeah, it's more bottle shaped than like a
yeah,
can shape.
yeah, almost like
Yeah,
those. Yeah, exactly.
I think it's sturdy.
But
It's good. I think that's the original. When I first had a Venom, that was the original reason I even got the thing to begin with. I was
yeah,
like,
because
that's a
the
cool
can was cool.
I'm
Yeah,
buying it.
absolutely. No, agreed as well. Yeah, it does sell. I mean, at least for me, it does. I have to imagine we're not alone with that as well. I think packaging can really work. Some of these pictures are weird. Anyway, um,
I know I'm getting distracted by them too. We're like, ooh, a tire. Ooh.
yeah. So,
Oh,
so
that's a weird one. What the heck? Old guy in the mountain staring at. Okay. Ooh,
that's what I meant,
fox.
but weird. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so what this is interesting. So I, as you know, kind of we talked about, enjoy manipulating my theme on the back of my PlayStation. I like to change it up. Um, And I was like, I wouldn't mind paying, a couple bucks for, a couple themes or something in the background. And I was looking through and I noticed like a lot of these themes they were selling bundles for like 4.99, and all of them were pictures from this stinking game. This is a puzzle game. And the puzzle game was on sale for 99 cents, and I'm like, now wait, I could buy like 20 different packs at 2.99 a piece, or buy the whole game and then just capture the pictures I want on my background myself. I'm going to do that. Well, then it turns out it has this neat feature, so since we have to have a game playing while we broadcast, I was like, hey, I'll put on the slideshow version of this Jigsaw 4K puzzle thing, which I was using for screenshots for having cool background pictures on my PlayStation. So, yeah,
So
good
what you're
background.
saying is there's this puzzle game and it has this picture that's a puzzle or whatever, and they're like, well, you can buy it for your background for $4, or just
Yeah.
buy the game that has the picture for 99
But the
cents.
thing is they never told you like that. It's just because me and I always am very investigative in my purchases because I don't like to have buyer's remorse, even if it is a $2 screenshot in the background. I was looking
Yeah.
into it and I just kept noticing the same picture came from the same company and the same thing, and I looked it up and there is a puzzle game, and I was like, and I was looking at the puzzle game, I was like, these same pictures are in this puzzle game. I'm like, that's dirty. So that's all they're doing. They're just
Right.
cutting these pictures and they're selling them to you. Or so that's why I was like 99 cents for every one of them. Okay, and I'll screenshot the ones I want. Because that's the thing is, but bundles are such a terrible thing. I get it. They're trying to. There's too many
Not always a
misers. There's
terrible
too many
thing. Not
misers like
always.
us. Is what I was getting ready to get at. They're a terrible thing in this type of situation because I don't want to pay $4 for pictures when two of them I don't like and two of them I do like. That just doesn't cut it for me. Like I can't ever talk myself into something like that. So a bundle where you could pick and choose, I think, is a little bit more liberating for that type of a thing. But I don't know. I struggle buying things lots of times because I'm like, I like two of those, but no, is that not a misers
Maybe, I
like
don't
us?
know. Well, it depends on the bundle. Yeah, if it's well, you split it up for me. So I'd be like, well, I don't care about two of the pictures, so I'm really buying two pictures for $4 instead of four pictures for $4. Really? And then is that bundle a good deal anymore?
It's never a good deal at that point, though. Because already you feel like you're getting, for me, something like this, it feels like a ripoff. That's why I didn't mind if it was going to be,
For
solid. But
me, I'm used to PC Master Race gaming, and buying anything for a background is a ripoff. Like,
right,
what the heck?
exactly,
I'm
exactly,
never gonna pay for that. What?
right, exactly. But then you go to the mobile gamers, and they're used to spending tons of money for everything, including just changing the frame around their mobile game. Like, I mean,
Right? You go to an Xbox gamer and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to log on, but I want to download the log on faster patch, so let me just pay 99 cents
uh,
for that. Whatever."
worth it. It's
Right?
hilarious. That's the way of the world now. The world has
They'd be like,
changed.
"I have the Xbox Live Pro package. I just pay an extra $5 a month, and I don't have to get all the ads on my system." Yeah. Like,
Right. The
oh.
the ads. Well, but it is funny though because they don't make any money selling you the hardware. You know that. There's no money made from
They've
selling
been
you a
talking about that
PlayStation
with
unit.
the leak stuff for the PS5 and
Right.
stuff. How
They
they
actually might sell it at cost just because they need to get it
it's
into
not
homes.
it's not entirely true, but yeah. When they first release a console, the last couple generations, Nintendo excluded, has sold consoles at a loss. Since the first one to do was the Xbox, and then from there it's Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS2, I guess, and 3 and 4. No,
Sure.
no, I don't think the PS2 did it. The Xbox did it. PS2 didn't. So when the PS3 came out, it's only been like the last generation and this generation that did it. Really, Xbox started it, but they sell it at a slight loss. Hoping that they'll make up their money on the software sales, and then eventually, when the parts get cheaper, then they're still selling it at the same price, and they start making money off of them.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
at the end of the
exactly.
life, at the end of the life cycle, right now, if you're buying a PS4, you better believe Sony's making some money off that PS4.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree because now
I
they've got it
heard
mastered.
I heard I think it was maybe PS4, PS3, maybe PS3. The average they made off of like overall the PlayStations they sold, PlayStation 3s.
Yeah.
The average was like a $20 profit off of each one. So
Yeah.
at the end, they made enough to make the whole average for all of them $20 profit.
Which is
So,
interesting because they have such a, I don't know.
yeah,
I mean, you took all forms of entertainment last year. Again, reading, right? Audio sales, movie sales combined together didn't equal the amount of revenue made from gaming. So
gaming. Yeah,
it's
well, I mean, twenty
such a
dollars per console. They sold what, like 100 million consoles or something like that, almost.
yeah.
That's like what, 220 million, 200 million, 2 billion, 2 billion? Nah, that can't be right. A dollar would be 100 million. So
Yeah,
you add a zero.
yeah.
2 billion. Yeah, I guess they made 2 billion off of selling just PlayStations. So when I put it in that perspective, poof, whatever.
I
They
mean,
lose some
yeah.
money off the
I guess
beginning.
I guess I would take that too. But I mean, that's what I mean. It's interesting. But it's because they also still have it streamlined. So they're saying they're doing it at cost, but they're not because they're still got their shipping and all that. You know what I mean? And they're making some money along the way with that because that's all stuff. Meaning,
I don't
if
think
you
they
were
are.
trying to
No,
start, if you were trying to start up a new business, right, and sell your stuff at cost, you wouldn't be able to make a turn of profit by the end on $20 on a console because you don't have all that stuff. They already have all their distribution set up, right? Their manufacturing. They aren't squatting deals and everything. Yeah, the price of the parts is what it is because with these new phones is I guess
everything.
what
Yeah,
the issue
yeah.
is, especially though. Um,
Phones for the RAM. Everybody's using all the stuff they
yeah,
need for the RAM.
right.
At least PlayStation 5 is gonna be tight on the RAM.
Because apparently people think gaming on phones is a viable form of gaming. But anyway, um, I'm just saying
Yeah,
without
that's the big
having
money maker. That's probably where half the money came from in
no,
that
but
last
honestly,
statistic you
legit.
said.
No, but honestly, legitimately, it's ridiculous how much mobile gaming brings in, and
I
how much
think
people just can't not pay
what
for
is
that
it?
money.
Bejeweled or something is in the top 10 most
Still,
profitable games or some crap. I don't know.
wow, it's insane. That's what I mean, man. Like, it's crazy. It's a crazy world. I don't know.
It's a mad world. Mad,
Have you,
mad world.
Billie Eilish? Do you listen, heard her, know
Billie
anything?
Eilish.
Eilish, is that how you say it? Eilish. See, there you go. You already know more than I do.
Billie Eilish. Yes, I know
It's
enough. Why? What's up?
so it's like a giant phenomenon and everything, right? And I find things in life are weird because
She came out of nowhere, and now she's just a superstar. And you'd be
like a
like, what?
superstar,
What?
like swept the Grammys superstar, like a 14-year-old kid or 16 is she now? Either way, she's a child, right? Anyway,
She's 18 now. Come on, man. She started getting popular when she was like 16, 17. But
okay.
yeah,
Either way, she's a
she's
18's
a
a
kid.
child. Your
Yes.
prefrontal cortex doesn't stop developing until you're
I
25.
think
You're a kid. If your brain is still growing, you're a child. Sorry.
I think she just literally like she turned 18 like 2 or 3. I don't know, but it's recently.
Don't
She's
lie.
got
He's
like
checking his calendar. He's like 18 on the. Wait, now that
ooh,
you're getting older, those jokes come off so much worse. Plus, with this whole
so
new
creepy.
movement, we can't. He's totally joking, everybody. But anyway, it's a whole new world. I don't know. But anyway, so me and Joe, or sometimes my brother, have experienced in life that lots of things that are off-putting we don't enjoy in the beginning, or something we really end up liking. Levels in video games themselves, or whatever. I was like, okay, well, let's see what she's all about, and I tossed her on because there's been ties in with Office stuff. I'm a big Office junkie. Dunder Mifflin
Because she's a
Head.
big Office fan, and she had
Right,
that
and like
video where
Rainn
Dwight went and
Wilson,
visited her
yeah,
and stuff.
Dwight.
Yeah,
You bite your mouth. It's Rainn Wilson. That offends him, by the
Dwight.
way. It
Dwight.
offends
Good.
him. It
Good.
offends
He
him.
should be offended.
He was legit mad at somebody because they didn't. Anyway, so I was
Well,
like,
he
all right.
should be. That kind of. I'm just gonna step back for a second. That bothers me when actors are like that, when they're typecast as a role and they get all like, ah. Like,
It's not even typecast as a
down.
role. No, what it was like a guy said, I'm an Eber fan and everything, and he was like, hey, can I get your autograph? He's like, yeah, absolutely. What's my name? And he's like, Dwight. And he's like, nah. that's not it. But anyway, we're dragging down the whole thing. So I decided to check out the Billie Eilish, I guess you say, and I'm like, okay,
Yes.
the vocals, I don't know, not that impressive, right? She's very muted sound. She doesn't even ever
That's her
raise her
biggest
voice.
criticism, as everybody always says. She sings like she's whispering or whatever. That's just her style, but
Which
whatever.
is fine, which is her style. So for me, I was like, I'm not impressed. I think Christina Aguilera, for instance, has like one of the most amazing voices. It's just her music doesn't usually motivate, move me. There's a couple songs that are decent. I feel like it's one of the most wasted voices in the industry. She has amazing highs. That's a personal thing. Sorry, I know there's probably lots of fans. I just feel it's wasted. So when I heard this Billy, I was like, whatever. And then it's weird because it's like I wasn't impressed. I didn't really care either way. But now it's been stuck in my head that the second song, the one where she's like something with my head underwater, and it's weird because the fact that she doesn't ever bring emotion or even bring in her voice up. It brings subtleties to the song that you find yourself looking forward to when she's going to just inflect slightly in a certain spot. It's weird. I don't know. It's interesting because at first I was like, I think this chick's whatever. She's mediocre. And now I like this
Overrated,
one
like
song.
don't get it, and then
Yeah, and
you're
like this
oh,
one
yeah.
song I'm super into all of a sudden. It kind of helps that I have a new VR game. It's a Beat Saber, but with guns, and it has one of her songs, Bad Guy in there, and so kind of, getting into a beat, shooting, it's kind of, that helped a bit, but that's not the song that stuck in my head, but it did help for me to go, all right, maybe there's more to this chick, but it helps because, I'm playing a game. Not that she's a girl, I'm discounting her, I'm just saying.
People like that she's like goofy and stupid and silly and different too.
You mean that she's a kid? That's what the world's like, wow, check out this musician, she's totally like a kid. Yeah, because she's a child. But anyway, I find that funny.
She's different, not the same as the everybody else kind of thing.
Because she's a child, right.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Also,
she acts like a child.
She has Tourette's, if you didn't know.
So I didn't, because I haven't done a ton of investigativeness into it. I don't know. Yeah, Tourette's.
She's Tourette's, straight up, yeah.
But so Tourette's is a misunderstood disease? Is that the right word?
She talks about it. Well, yeah, disorder or whatever. But that's why
Syndrome?
She talks about it too, is to bring like, because a lot of people.
Yeah, they think that you just sit there and just blurt out swear words and stuff, and it's not even really that at all. It's a lot of times it's just inappropriateness of not even having a filter. Like there's different. It affects people in different ways.
Some interview with her, and she was talking about it. She's like, I got Tourette's and blah, blah. They're like, oh, how's life? Like, what? She's like, I don't know. I've always had it, so it's not anything different to me. It's
Right.
And she's like, and a lot of people like don't even know it, and they'll see an interview with me and be like, I don't see any of your like tics or show any. She's like, well, yeah, if it's not alive, they just edit it out real easy because I don't have like a severe case of it. It's just a little bit. And then they have like. If I have a live one, sometimes I'll have like they're called tics, which is usually when I just randomly swear words, and it doesn't have to be that; it can be anything. So she's like, when it's a live interview and I have some of my tics, people be like, "Oh, she's so goofy and silly" or whatever, and she's like, "That's just my Tourette's." Like,
they love my syndrome, whatever the appropriate term is. That's hilarious.
It's interesting to me. Like I watched a couple interviews with her and stuff because just like you, she came out of nowhere, and I was like, "What's going on? Like, why is
this a thing?"
On?
Right.
Yeah, and I was curious, so I was like, "Let me, see what's going on," and watch a couple interviews. So I was like, okay, I don't know, but yeah, she kind of grows on you.
Yeah, it was just surprising that I don't know. Her music's kind of just hitting me between the ears lately. Like I was literally just playing it right before this podcast started, and I was like, "Man," but it's just weird because you're just the lack of emotion ends up making some of it a lot more stand outish. I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, meaningful, powerful is stand out. Like you look forward to it. Like it just hits you in better ways. Oh, it's interesting.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
So what have you been up to? When was the last time we updated up?
Jeez, who knows, bro? Well, we recorded a couple, but they never made it up, so who knows? It's been a while.
I think actually no. I remember recording one that was about to be Christmas.
I think that was one of the last ones, and it wasn't
we never uploaded that one, so it's probably like November since the last actual upload.
Yeah, like November, like not last November.
Yeah, last November, man, right?
Not 2019 November, bro. Like 2018 November.
No, Oh, how long have we been podcasting? Let me check here.
Since like 2015, man. I swear.
No, our first. Oh shit, that was solid, man.
Oh yeah.
Dang.
2015.
You're like 2015. I was like, no, our first. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
on
no,
it.
our first podcast was uploaded September 10th of 2015. Recorded
Yeah.
August 28th, 2015.
Boom, man.
Boom. We've been podcasting for like 5
Years.
man.
No, but to be fair, our first 2 years were solid, man. Those were what 2, 3, 4 hour long podcasts that were every single week. Like that, they were hefty, man.
Our first season.
It was like
if we're going
24
with the
episodes,
seasons.
right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, legit. Exactly 24 episodes. I feel like you're on my podcast page looking at
I'm
everything.
not.
What the heck?
I'm not. This just matters to me. That's why I want to
So-
get this going. I care. It's
Yeah, no,
important to
season
me.
one, we did a 24 episode run, which is pretty strong. We went from was September of 2015, and we went until May of 2016. So I mean, almost we got close to a year until we had a break, and then we came back like 2 months later.
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
had a couple more episodes, but it kind of
It's just hard. Life. Well, it's life. Life's hard, man.
Season 3 took a while to pop back out, and then that
Yeah,
one
it
pittered
was
out
short.
too. So we're back to season 4. So hopefully, with our new just live off the cuff kind of recording style, we can
Yeah.
get it to work.
Well, yeah, because a lot of the reason everything got bogged down was post-production. It was the editing, and it's not easy to do. You know, it's
When
nice if you just had somebody to do it for you, but you don't. And so trying to squeeze that in, and then at that time you're, engaging in a new life, and
Yeah, our first season it was just a single.
you're a single
whatever.
dude at home, right? So it was like
Yeah.
work and then
So-
whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's-
right. But that's gone. That's over.
I had the time to go and be like, let's do this 3-hour podcast. And
Right.
Like, all right. And now I need to edit it, which is going to
Right.
take 3 hours for me to listen to, but I'm editing it. So really it's like 4 or
4
5
hours. Yeah, exactly. And who cares? And then after I upload it, I'm gonna listen to it all the way through one more time to make sure it sounds good and what's happening. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't listen to it again after I uploaded it.
You're like, I'm good. I'm solid. Oh well, I
That's
definitely did once or twice usually.
Honestly, the editing, well, yeah, for you I understand, but the editing process is what really burned me out in that first season, because it would be like, all right, let's do a 2.5 hour podcast. Poof, all right. I'm like, now I'm going to edit it next day, but like, I literally just had this conversation like yesterday. I'm like,
Right.
Just listening
Right.
to it again.
You're like, I hate the sound of his voice. I want to stab him.
I don't even get that, but I would get
No,
like,
just listen.
I would
It's
start to have the problem where I would zone out just a little bit, and be like,
Right.
oh, I got to be like really paying attention because I'm editing. Because on those I would go through and pull out every little pop with the mic and everything. I super edited them.
Yeah, no, they were as clean as they could get. Plus, we had crappier mics back then, or at least I did, and so that's been changed.
The worst episode by far was the one where we had Joe as the special guest.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that was a
between all
good
three
episode.
mics.
No, well, when I edited it, it wasn't an issue. But when I edited it, I noticed, and I didn't notice like at the time, but when I was going through the podcast, I noticed Joe like repeats words, and he did a lot of like ums and uhs and stuff.
Oh yeah, you were cutting all kinds of stuff out back in the original days.
Yeah. And he was going through that, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make him sound a little. I'm just gonna take out this little It's gonna sound so much cleaner. Like
Yeah,
in his
you
responses.
were. Yeah.
And I pulled out like all that stuff on Joe, and I was like halfway through the podcast. I was like, "This is so," but I'm already halfway done.
Right.
It's so stupid. Why am I doing this?
And you don't want to start letting it slip. Like halfway, all of a sudden, Joseph goes from "and today was a wonderful day" to "and today was a." Not that that's how he talked ever, but that would have been. It would have been obvious. It would have been like, what happened to this dude? He tie one on in between takes.
And I was curious halfway through, and I was like, all right, let me listen to this part edited and unedited just to see how much of a difference it makes. And I was like, you know what? It has the same tone, the same like message, everything is the same, but he just seems so much more like quick and articulated without those ums and pauses. And I was like, Oh man,
Yeah. That's funny.
it does sound better.
That's amazing. So yeah,
And I was like, yeah, I'm not
we're
doing
gonna
that
roll with
again.
it. Nah, we're just gonna roll with it. I mean, honestly, I don't know about you, but a lot of my inspiration I do pull from Joe Rogan. I mean, you watch his stuff, and I mean, he just rolls, man. Like people, sometimes they get up and go to the
That
bathroom, and
was
he just keeps rolling and talking and
And he
carrying
doesn't care
on.
though, too. The people are like,
No,
oh, it's
yeah,
cool. If we're gonna... It's like, yeah, just go. And they're
I
like, well,
know.
we're in the middle. He's like, it's cool.
I know. It's so
And
many
they
of them
go, and
at
people are like,
first
oh, I'm
seem
here
weird.
talking with blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, and he just carries on. Yeah, and watching that, you're like, why not? I mean, what people are, I think podcasts, what they're interested in is the authenticity. That's why you listen. You want the long, drawn out conversation. So I think if it
He
is too
mentions that a
hyper,
lot. It's like, it's nice if you have a 3 hour conversation. You're going to get that real person. You're not going to get like.
exactly.
I mean, they might be faking it, but at that point, if you're faking who you are for 3 hours, you're probably faking who you are in life. And that's
Right. Right.
honestly who you are, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
I mean, yeah, at what point are you no longer playing a role and you are now that role? Exactly. Yeah, you can only do it
yeah.
for so long. But everybody has their personas as well, though, too. And I think that people forget that. Like, not that I'm a different person, but I have a work persona. I have to be.
Everybody has that. I've tried to say that before. Everybody has different versions of yourself. You know,
You
you
do.
have
It's
the
not dishonest.
the
It's what's
yeah the
required
person
for what you're doing.
me at work isn't the same me at home. You know what I
Absolutely
mean?
not. Right.
it's,
Absolutely, it can't
it's
be.
it's not the same me. That's like if I
Or
don't want
going
to say
out with friends, or going, hanging out
yeah, or
somewhere,
like
or
talking to my mom or something like that.
right,
You know, it's
right,
just
exactly. Or even just going to a
this
movie. I mean, there's just different views. It's normal.
yeah at home me out and
Right.
outside me.
Right, exactly, exactly. Yeah, no, but it's just kind of funny because it's like, well, because
Or
part
if
of
you
it
have
hit
like two
me.
different groups of friends and you kind of act a little different and with each group, and then they all get together and you're like, oh fuck, which, oh.
Right. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, what's happening?
Which me do I have to be right now? No.
No, but so because that's what I was saying. Like, so I started a new job and then recently, within the last 7 or 8 months, and at the same time I got new glasses. So like literally everybody at this new job. This is what kind of turned me on to this idea. Is everybody at this job knows me as only having glasses. Yet these are such a new thing to me that everybody else in my entire life
Right.
knows me without glasses. Yet here's an entire 50
You're Clark
people
Kent, man.
that I now know
Clark Kent.
well, right, that only know me with glasses. And that's when I was like, man, you kind of really do. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, sometimes I have to be more turned on at work, and as far as, friendly and jovial, and I'm not always that on at home. I mean, you just can't be. But I also have to go into patients' rooms and, deal with, terrible, horrible
Bedside
things
manner and
sometimes.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and family members yelling at you because their family member isn't off the ventilator yet, and it's like, well, I mean, and you got to remain professional. You can't be like, well, because you're a moron.
Look, you dumb beep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I've got music playing all of a sudden, all in my headphones.
I don't hear. Well, actually, I don't hear anything
So,
in the chat.
I
Did
don't
you do anything
know.
on the?
No, I had it turned off too, so that's kind of interesting. My controller died, so maybe it was like, oh yeah, your controller died. So there's going to be a little bit of music that pops in here in a second. Sorry about that.
Wow, we had been talking over music for how long?
No, just for a few seconds. It literally just popped on and did that.
Oh, wow.
It's,
No,
it's
I've been touching my controller every couple seconds just to make sure I don't pop out of.
Well, I didn't know it going off would cause the music to start because I have the music turned off. Now I totally lost my train of whatever I was saying, which is a really darn shame.
You with glasses is like Clark Kent, and you without glasses is
Yeah,
Superman.
yeah. No, it was super weird though that that here's an entire group of people that know me pretty decently well. Oh yeah, and I was
I
just
kind of thought
driving
it
my
like that
job
too. Oh man, I got glasses recently.
Right.
And, well, not recently, like a year ago. Oof. Wow. I'm so old
Getting
that a
old.
year ago is recent to me, man.
Right. Like, oh, just very recently. I mean, I can remember it like yesterday. It was a year ago. That's how you know you get
Exactly.
old, is that time literally loses its meaning. Like years become days.
I've been noticing that, man. I'm not even gonna lie.
No,
Like,
for
I'll be
real.
like, oh, just whatever, just like another year or whatever. It's no time at all, or whatever. Like for waiting, I'm like, a year? What the heck? I remember when I was like a teenager, a year was a long time, man.
Yeah,
Like a long
forget a
time.
teenager. I remember as like, a 6, 7 year old, like a year. You know how much stuff
Well,
happens
yeah,
in a year? Like it's a lifetime. It literally is a lifetime to, a three
it
year
makes
old.
sense for like a little kid to think that a year is a super long time. But I'm saying even like as a grown like person, a year, like a teenager, or even
Yeah.
early 20s, a year still felt pretty long, but now a year is like, eh, it comes and goes.
Right. It comes and goes.
So weird. But then
Yeah.
also at the same time, when I look back at everything that's happened in the last year, I'm like, oh, dang, that's a lot of stuff.
And I think that's why it's smart. You get all kinds of advice from all kinds of different places. Some talk about keeping a journal. Some talk about writing things down on a calendar. Some talk about writing down all the good things, putting them in a jar, reading them. I think, there's something to that. Not only does it help mark passage of time, but it helps you to really take stock of your life and what happened in that year. And, it's not always going to be happy stuff, but it all happened. It's all life. It's a shame to just sweep
Yeah,
under the rug and move on and be like, on
that's
to the
uh,
next.
that's why we're gonna document it all on this podcast. Now we're not gonna stop
Boom.
this thing, man. We're gonna go a year straight.
Dude, I'm down for it, man. You know I'm already fine. I'm all
Oh
about the
man, I just
podcast.
realized something. Well, okay, back real quick just to the glasses thing, and then I'll come back to it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I got glasses, and it was like just so random. Like the next day, I just showed up at work like with glasses on, and I felt so like,
Right,
oh
right.
man,
Like Kevin in the office when they get somebody new and he gets the toupee
yeah,
and he's like, "How do you feel about bald people? I hate them."
yeah,
That's you. Like, how do you feel about people with glasses? I
yeah.
hate them.
I hate them. Yeah, and then
Yeah, and then you're like, I'm
yeah,
not trying to be a hipster. I'm just old. I can't see. I'm not trying to be
yeah.
cool. It's not a fashion statement.
But then, yeah, after a little bit, then there was like a new person that came onto the team, and I had my glasses on at the time, and so they only knew me with glasses. We
Right?
started
It's
talking
weird.
about it, and they were like, "Oh yeah," but I forget what they said, but I was like, "I've only had these for like a year." Like they were saying something that was like, you're just a person who wears glasses or whatever. I was like, "Yeah, no, these are recent."
Don't lie. Don't lie. They're like, hey, Four Eyes. You're like, I just got
Thanks for bringing back. I forgot the conversation. You got it verbatim.
Yeah, I've actually got your mics everywhere. We're just bugging you everywhere.
It's just weird. It's just so
It
silly that like
is. It's a weird thing, though.
people just they see you that way and they assume that's just how you've always been. But really, you can just be like, I don't know, man. I just got the glasses. I shaved off my epic beard that was 3 feet long. Like,
Right, right,
you know.
right, exactly. They're like, oh, you look like a clean cut. No, maybe you're a missionary. And you're like, no,
Yeah.
man, I just got a long sleeve shirt on. All my tats are covered, and I just shaved off my three
Right.
foot beard. Yeah, it's weird. Well, that's what kind of I think about aging is not that we're ancient guys, but still, as you age, just things become a little bit more, I don't know, evident. And one of the things I've noticed for me is that, like, when you're young guys, man, everything's so black and white. You know what I mean? Like, everything in life is either good or bad, and like, you always know what's right and you always know what's wrong, and you just have like this, or at least I did. Maybe I'm not speaking, but I just feel like, and then the older I get, the more I realize, like, not only is the world super gray, blah blah blah. You hear that stuff all the time, but you
Yeah.
start to realize though, like lots of stuff, like. Uh, you
So the
do
biggest
come
thing
into
for me,
people. Oh, well, hold on. Let me finish this thought. I'm sorry. I was trying to figure out
go
how I
go
want to
go
say
go.
it. You do come into people's lives into a chapter. So this black and white and judging and how you thought people should act and be when you're meeting someone, you try and apply all this morality or this right and wrong or whatever it is against somebody, but you're just seeing a part of them or just side of them or a chapter of their life. Like you were saying, maybe they did have a 3 foot beard yesterday, and this is amazing compared to maybe this is somebody who's a recovering drug person. You don't know, but I just noticed that the older I get, the less of this judgmental aspect of right and wrong and black and white that you have, and it's more just kind of like, man, everyone's just really just trying to get by on this planet, man. Like, some people don't know how, some people are damaged, and because they're damaged, they damage others. I'm going further into it than I wanted to, and you can jump in any time. But
I don't want to cut you off, man. I'll let you have
no, it
your
was good. I
speech
just really
there.
wanted that one thought about the. But yeah, so I don't know.
I
It's
was I
interesting.
was just saying I don't know about black and white specifically, but I do know when I was younger I had a lot more like stronger opinions about things,
Yeah,
which I
well,
guess
that's
is
what
the
I
same as
mean.
black and white.
That's what I'm
But it
saying.
wasn't
Like,
so much like this is right or this is wrong. It's just like I think this way, and
yeah,
or
but
whatever.
but but it was
And
also like
one
you
of
could
the
love Green Day but hate Blink 182, and you had such emotion about that. But now it's like, why can't I like them
yeah.
both? That's what I mean. Like
You,
that
what's
black and
weird is
white.
I used to. It's funny you say that. I used to like not like Blink 182 at all and
Right,
hated
you
them and be
couldn't.
like, oh, they're
Yeah,
so mainstream. And
right.
now I listen to like one of their songs back in the day. I'm like, yeah,
You're
man, this is
like,
my
yeah,
jam.
those solid. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point. That's what I mean by like the black and
But
white. I just mean it's either yes or no. I don't necessarily mean all right and wrong. I just mean you feel
well,
are so opinionated, and then you get
yeah.
older.
The other what I was going to mention, yeah, what I was going to mention before is a lot of what was I going to say? I like to think of myself as an open-minded person, right? So
I think
I
everybody does, but yes.
yeah, well,
You're like fair
that's
enough.
different. Oof. What is big for me is the older I get, is the more times that something will happen in my life that just straight up changes my opinion on something,
Yeah,
and it's because of my own personal experiences with it.
yeah.
The big one for me, at least recently, is like with kids, where I'm like, oh man, when I have kids, I'm not gonna
Right.
do whatever.
At the
Like
store,
those
they'll
kids,
never raise their voice, like whatever. You know what I mean? Like you just had this idea. Yeah,
uh,
sorry.
the perfect example is like,
Hmm.
man, I don't know how people have their kids up that late. Like, I would
Right.
have them in bed at 8 o'clock, like 7:30, whatever, on the dot. And you know how late was baby Aria up last night?
I
Like
don't know.
all
We were
through the
gaming.
night,
We
just
were gaming till like 5.
oh
Yeah,
my god.
yeah, yeah. It didn't
And it's
matter how
just
much you
like,
laid her down, or what you gave her, or how you told
well,
her
that's
what
the
she needed to
problem, man.
do. Or
She refuses to go to sleep, and her sleeping. Anyway, I got her to go to sleep like on time and lay
right.
down, and she was in bed asleep, and I was like, cool. And then 2 hours
Victory.
later, she
She
comes
wakes
down and
up
she's
and
like,
she's got enough sleep that she can keep going, but she hasn't got
she's like,
enough sleep to be a human.
that was a good nap.
Right.
And you're like,
Exactly. You're like
oh,
fail, so fail. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, no, exactly. Well, and that's what I mean. It's just so weird as you age. So for me, what it does is it gives you a broader just perspective on everything because I don't,
yeah.
you're just so much less quick to not even necessarily judgment, but just be so opinionated. But kind of like what you
Well,
said. Hmm.
it also makes me realize that like not even just now that I've experienced something, I've used something differently. Like now when I see something, I'm like, you know what? I haven't been down that path, so I don't know what it's like on the
Right.
other side.
And that's what I
You
mean.
know?
Exactly. No, that's exactly what I mean because you start to realize through life and how you had these dead set morals, principles, ideas, thoughts, ways that you were going to do things, and then they don't turn out that way. That's exactly what it is. It actually helps you to just look at greater situations and go, I don't know. I don't know what I do in that situation. I thought I knew.
There's
But
yeah, I
sometimes you get
know,
in
I
it,
know.
and all of a sudden you're like, no, what I thought I would do is actually not the
I,
right thing for this situation.
I want to say there's a couple situations where somebody would be like, "Oh, what do you think about blah blah blah?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. I never." And I'm like, "Yeah, but like, what do you think you would do in this kind of like something like that?" And I'm just like, "I don't know, man. I haven't been down there. I can't tell you." Even if
Yeah.
I was like, "I think this is what it is," I'm like, "I'm not going to tell you that because I know the second that happens, whatever the situation or whatever is,
They're going to be like,
go
you said
anyway."
you were going to do this, and you didn't. Right. Well, no, but so that's the
Yeah,
other problem I have with this new world that we live in where everything is so documented because it feels like you have to be stuck in whatever position you picked at one point in your life. And if you ever change that, then everything you're saying is false. And it's like there's not this room to grow. Man, people say dumb
right.
stuff earlier in life. They have dumb ideas. Even politicians, and we don't get into politics, but even politicians maybe one time voted one way and then they change their mind and then people are like, oh, you're a flip-flopper, or oh, we can't
Flip
trust you, or
flopper.
right. Wait, no, guys, shouldn't people's opinions and things be changing with life experience and with gaining of greater knowledge? But then we condemn you for that doesn't make sense to me. That's
I
such a
think
weird
yes,
way
it's
to run the
that
world.
that kind of thing, that kind of morality, that whole movement, I think, is coming from a lot of younger people who honestly haven't had enough time on this earth to go through those kind of experiences that we're
Which is
talking
exactly
about.
what we're talking about. That's exactly it's that heavy opinionatedness of youth when you just think what you're doing is so incredibly important and correct and right because you don't have that experience to realize that guys, it's not. There's so much else too. It's
Yeah.
just it's not. No, but yeah, I don't know. So that's really been hitting me a lot lately. I don't know. It's weird. Life just always changes, and because of that, I've been having a lot of different views and perspectives on things that I guess the older you, I don't know, man. The older you get, because right now
That's why they
I'm
say
an age.
people get mellow in their old age and stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like
most
the
do, but
older you
some
get.
don't. Some are just age holes till the day they drop dead. But because
Wow.
I guess a lot of it with me, a lot of these introspective things and reflections have come because I think of my dad. Like when I was a kid, my dad at this age, and like
You
I
know
think of
what?
him of like this all-knowing, all-understanding, amazing being, and like this
Right.
incredibly adult, grown-up master of the world and universe. And now I'm that age, and I'm like, I feel like a kid, but my kids look at
No,
me
I've been
like
having that.
that. My
I've
kids
been
look
having
at
that
me
now
like
that
I'm that. I'm not
yeah,
that.
I've been having that thought a lot lately too. Like where it's just like I still feel like I'm a kid. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but my dad had it together at this age,
Right,
man.
but he
Both of my
didn't.
parents
That's the
really
secret.
did.
No, but they didn't. That's the secret. They
No, man, but
didn't.
they did.
They couldn't have. That's the whole thing. They just couldn't have.
Now that you're an adult, you really look at it. You're like, I don't think they still have it together.
Exactly. We just think that they do. That's exactly it.
But
No, but
yeah,
so it just strikes you and it just really, I don't know, man. It's just weird. Just the older you get, the more you see on this earth, just the more things change. And I just wish as a society, I guess, and even as a world, we would just allow for that growth and change. Let it happen. Stop trying to tie people to old thoughts, ideas. You know, and I don't think the same things I thought 10 years ago. I really don't. Lots of things have changed, but I don't think like because I made a statement 10 years ago that now for the rest of my life I have to be beholden to
no, that's
something that I
the
said, and that's just crazy because
like that's
I'm
the
not the
one.
same.
I remember listening to Joe Rogan podcast, and even he was saying that, like how it's like, oh, we have this movement and everything about how people say horrible things on Twitter or whatever, and they have all these repercussions for it, which is, I guess, fine, whatever. But he's like, but what really gets me about this is like with this movement is like there's no coming back from that. Like there's
No,
nothing anybody can say to like
right? You get one
change their
mistake and
mind or
that's
like, oh,
it,
that person, people change. Like
right?
there's no. Although finally there are a couple of cases where like it seems to some
It's
people have
finally
came
to
back
come back,
like
right?
one or two and it start and then be like okay finally we're getting back to swinging the other way like a
It needs to, but
pendulum.
yeah, it's just so insane though. I don't. It's just for me, it's just such a crazy. Every 7 years, every single one of your cells is a new one. Like you shed all of your, so you're literally not even the same physical chemical makeup that you were, 10 years ago. You're literally a different human. Like literally, your entire every single cell is sloughed off,
Been
mutated,
replaced, yeah.
changed, and been replaced. Yeah. So why do we have to stay beholden to thoughts, ideas, or stupid things we
Did
said
you
or thought at
know
one time?
do you, do you know even your DNA changes over time
That's
too,
what
like
I'm
very
saying.
very tiny
That's
little bit, yeah,
no, that's
just
why flavors change. That's why you have different taste buds type things. You know, you hate broccoli when you're a kid, you eat it as an adult, it's your favorite meal. It's not because you grew up and all that. No, it's literally changes
right
in your
you eat
physical
something.
body.
It's weird. Sometimes you'll eat something you haven't had since you're a kid, and you'll be like, "Oh, this doesn't taste like I remembered to." They must have
Right,
changed the recipe.
right.
No, they've been making it the same way for like 50 years, you
Yeah,
know.
no, I
But
had that with
it's
my
just,
kids. They got those Hugs drinks, those little like junky Kool-Aid
yeah, yeah,
crap, and
yeah. The
I
jug
used to
thing.
think
Yeah,
those
those are
things were
nasty, man.
amazing as a kid. I was so excited. I
No,
tried my daughters. I was like, surely it didn't taste this bad. And sure enough,
no,
man, it's
those are
never
nasty,
changed. I loved them as a
man.
kid. I thought they were gourmet. When mom would buy those, it was like, woo! We don't have to make our
Yeah.
own Kool-Aid in a pitcher. We're living a high life. They're garbage, man. They're terrible.
I didn't really have them much as a kid, though. I'm trying to think. Maybe
We
I
didn't
did once
either.
or
That's
twice,
why
and I
for me it
liked
was a
it.
thing. It was a treat. That's exactly my point. That's why I thought they were amazing. That's exactly
Uh,
it. But yeah, no, they're not. Same, well, all those things. We didn't have any of those. Those squeeze its, bats, all that stuff. We once in a great blue moon somehow we would get one through a friend or whatever. So I thought all that stuff was amazing. Or gushers, like gushers. Have you had those? Those things are terrible. Who likes gushers? Ugh. And I love sweets.
We just got a big. We shop at Sam's Club. We got a huge box of those just for the kids.
Try one.
They're eating those things up. I did. I had one not too long ago.
They're terrible, right? They're nasty.
They're not terrible. They're not terrible, but they're like not
they
like I remember them to be. I remember gushers to be like the ultimate candy
thing.
Of the day.
And yeah, everybody would trade everything in their lunches to get that. If you were the kid at the lunch table with the gushers, you were like, "Whoa, we love you." Yeah, they're awful. I don't know why we all loved them. I don't think they're good.
For some reason, I remember like the juice in the middle of them to be a little bit different, and then to be like more when I was a kid. Now it seems like it's just.
It's like blobby. I thought it was more like of a juice, like a runny. But it says I've looked and nothing in the recipe has changed. I don't know. But I think that kind of goes into that whole Mandela effect type thing too, where sometimes we just globally.
I just had a bad Mandela effect thing happen to me. I was at work and there was some account that was like. Well, I guess technically I'm not allowed to say anything, but they had Pittsburgh in the name of the account. And
okay.
I was like, this is so weird. This company puts an H at the end of Pittsburgh. That's so stupid. Why do they have it spelled like that? And it's so, like, why would they put that on there? That's so stupid.
Yeah.
Whatever. Idiots. And then, like, I looked at something, and I was like, Pittsburgh with an H at the... I'm like, what? Is that how it's really... And I Googled it, and I was like, what is going on right now? I specifically remember Pittsburgh to be just a G at the end with no H whatsoever.
Wow,
what is
crazy.
happening? And I had to Google it. I was like, it's got to be a Mandela effect Pittsburgh with A. And there's like one thing on Reddit from some dude like 2 years ago that's like, hey guys, what's going on? I was like, I guess it's really just me then. If there's only like one thing a while ago.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really funny.
It was just such a strong one too. Usually I don't care about the spelling ones because I'd be like, yeah, you just sound it out and your mind probably does whatever spelling makes sense because most of those are like Berenstein Bears is E instead of an A instead of an E or whatever. You're like, well, yeah, because it sounds like how I remember it to be spelled like, so that makes sense to me. That my brain would change it, you know?
Plus, they're the things that you don't necessarily read. Once somebody's told you the title, how often do you read the title? I don't go over to my DVDs and go, The Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? It's Lord of the Rings. You just look at it. And by the way, I didn't say the. You heard me say Lord of the Rings. That's what everyone calls it. But it's the Lord of the... Anyway, my point being, so yeah, with that same stuff, it doesn't really... I don't care because you don't look at it. You don't care. It's not something you pay attention
to. Or like the Looney Tunes one. It's like, no, Looney Tunes like a tune, like a sound, not Looney Tune like a cartoon, like it's spelled differently. Like I don't know. When I watched those, I probably couldn't really spell that good to begin with. So
and it never mattered.
Trusting my spelling on those things.
Right, and it didn't matter because again, you're not looking at the title of the show once you're old enough to read it anyway. You're not going Looney Tunes. Excellent,
but
wonderful.
For some reason, Pittsburgh got me, man. I looked at it, and I was like, that just does not look right at all. Like that,
which is hilarious.
Wrong. Yeah.
I sometimes get that, but not even the Mandela. I think part of it's my dyslexia. But there's times I'll write a word and I look at it, I'm like, that looks so wrong. And other people will be like, that's right. And I'm like, no, it's not. And they'll write the word themselves, and when they write it, I'm like, yeah, that's right. But when it's written in my handwriting, I'm like, that's wrong. I'm looking at it and it's wrong. It's weird. I don't know. It happens to me. It's a weird thing.
Usually the spelling ones I don't care about those at all. I'm like, I get it. Your mind changing stuff.
Yeah.
There's only a couple of those that's like, that's weird. But the more that I think about it, the more it makes sense. It's just,
no, man.
Because the theory on the Mandela effect is, like, people will be like, the theory on the Mandela effect, people are like, oh, it's proof that there's multiple, timelines, and you're switching from universes when you feel that. And I'm like, meh. Or everybody just has false memories, and there's some kind of triggers that make you have the same false memory, because we already know false memories are a thing.
We do, but do we? Maybe it is that. No, I love this idea. I love the string theory idea. I love the idea of... only recently have I started to
I got something I got to tell you, man. And I think you're the only person in the world who's going to really grasp what I'm saying here.
Okay. This is just
And,
for
and
us. You guys can stop listening.
yes, yes. It's a weird memory I have from when I was very, very young.
Okay.
Very young memory.
All right.
Now that I have kids, I don't know what it is, but a lot of my like childhood memories come back to me.
Yeah,
Like,
right. Doing stuff with kids brings back stuff that you hadn't thought about in years. I do it all the time as well. Yeah.
and
In
just
fact,
random childhood memories come back to me though too.
yeah.
Like, I don't.
Not something necessarily super memorable. Just all of a sudden you're like, oh, weird. Yeah, or a sight or a smell all of a sudden hits you. Yeah, having kids does that to me all the time. I agree.
Yeah, since I have the kids, it's
Yeah.
just for whatever reason I'd be thinking about my young life a lot more than I did like 5 years ago. It was
Right. You haven't
never
thought
thought
of your
about it.
young life in 20 years, and all of a sudden you have kids, and now, like,
Yes.
all of a sudden you're remembering so much stuff. Sometimes feeling emotions, tasting, cooking.
Yes,
Like,
yes,
yeah.
man, yes.
Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
remember everything. But on the
Right.
term, like, on the like subject of memories, I have this really weird memory,
Mhm.
and I can only like verbalize it. Like it's almost like when I realized I had sentience, like as a kid, like I had an epiphany as a kid. And
Okay.
I was like, "Whoa, I'm like a person." Like it's a really weird memory. I remember I was
Yeah.
in my room. I woke up from my bed and I was just standing there. And the memory specifically is like me standing there, and it was like almost in my mind. It was like a bunch of screenshots of memories, and then boom, I'm here right now. And I was like, "What?"
Really?
And maybe it's just a weird thing that happened because like I was sleeping and I woke up and it was just like this weird like up from a dream kind of thing.
No,
But
man,
I
you were
remember it
rebooting.
very. I, maybe.
No, you were
Maybe.
rebooting, bro. You start to
It's
come out, or the body
the
that you were
Matrix.
in, the body you were in, they were transferring your mind to the new one, and so they had to implant the memories from the new body so your mind wouldn't be rejected, man. I mean, you're just all a giant experiment, bro.
It's a legit memory that's like that, man. It's a
Right,
really
because you were
weird
being
memory. It's just
re-uploaded, man.
like
That's what it is.
as a kid, I only a little
Right? It was a
that's when they
reboot.
booted me into. That's
Yeah.
when they. That's when they uploaded me into the simulation.
Yeah, man,
Huh,
that could
I
have been
remember
it too. The thing is, man, it's I love toying with some of those ideas. They're fun. They're fun to follow and think about. That's why I was getting into the string theory thing
It's just a
recently.
weird memory. I never like told anybody about it. I feel like they'd be like, "What are you talking about? That's just what."
No,
It's
man.
weird.
No, it's
But
interesting.
it really is just a memory of like, here's a memory, nothingness. Here's another memory. It was like a chronological boom, boom, boom memories, and then I'm here, and I was like, it was such a weird like, man, my life is just a bunch of memories up until this point. Like, how do I know that? And it's such
Right.
a weird thought to have as like a little kid. I'm talking like I was
Right.
like 3 or 4 or something.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
that's
It
what
was
you
before
expect
school.
somebody in the, jungle doing DMT or something to come out being like, "Whoa, I exist because I have memories." You know what I mean? Not a
Yeah,
small
yeah.
child. you're
I'm
you're
like in
pulling
the
Descartes over there. You're like, "I think, therefore I am." You know what I mean? Like, what is happening?
right? Yeah. No, it's just a really weird memory. I've been thinking about it like I was like, what was that? But it's just because I only think about it now because of all my little childhood memories that just pop into my mind. I think
It's
like
it's that or you're an implant. You're actually an alien, and they needed you to be able to be
maybe
a
that would be the
simulation. So at a young age, they
for
had to implant you, load you with human memories, so you actually don't even know you're an alien. There's going to be something that triggers you. You're a sleeper. When the uprising of aliens
hi.
takes, you're going to be triggered. And so that's what's going to
You got a
happen.
baby here?
He doesn't even realize it now. He's
Okay.
unaware that he is actually an alien sleeper. That was him rebooting. He was reloading. They were like, "All right, we're going to send down this guy," but he can't know he's an alien because it's harder, right? It's harder to act as something if you just are actually it. So they just loaded the false memories into you. That's what it was. I'm carrying this on because obviously he's a little bit distracted at the moment. What I was going to go with is the string theory thing. It's very interesting. A lot of it's based on Einstein's theory of relativity and the fact that gravity is what bends space and time, and as such, time is manipulable. I mean, it's not explaining it well, which stinks. That's why I usually use Foreman for these instances because he helps to fill in the gaps. As such, they believe like there's universe upon universe upon universe, right? The multi-universe theory. And that there's like a different universe, and everything happens possible in every universe, everywhere, right? But what was more interesting was the other day, I don't know where I was listening, it might have even been a Joe Rogan podcast, but they were talking about with this string theory,
I've
right?
actually to stop you for a second there. I've
Mhm.
actually listen to a couple of Joe Rogan podcasts. The one I'm listening to right now is where they're getting into the possibility of multiverse. Multiverse. He's actually okay. So the one I'm
Who's he
listening to
talking
right
to?
now,
You forgot
some
his
guy.
name.
It's the most recent one. Yeah. I'm very bad
Oh,
with
I don't
names.
listen to the brand new ones. Yeah, I'm still behind. But yeah, okay.
What's this guy's name? I'm pulling it up here, but he made a book. Brian Greene.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Brian Greene. Yeah, he's on there all the time.
yeah, they're talking about
They
how
talk about
the
it a lot.
physics. Yeah, he's talking about the physics and how the Big Bang. He's wrote some book from the Big Bang to the end, like I guess the heat death of the universe or whatever. And it's like if you start going into some of the weird physics, it starts making sense that the way the Big Bang happened and how we think it happened, and Einstein's mathematics fit this thing. And he's like, and Einstein had mathematics 100 years ago that we just verified, like a couple years ago. So we're like, all right, he's probably pretty good on whatever he's thinking,
Sure. Right.
And then, like, if we find these mathematics, we can find this is kind of like maybe what happened to make the Big Bang. And if that happens there, it's probably happened all these other places too. So it only makes sense that there's all these multiple, like, infinite universes, and there's another version of us out somewhere. And he's like, it fits the physics, but the problem is when you start talking about that, people be like, yeah, you're a crackpot. But you're like, well, that's where the physics took me to, though. Like,
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, because I was just reading something recently as well, and back when SETI was first brought into existence, it was the searching for extraterrestrial life, right? Back in the '60s is when SETI, I think, was organized. Carl Sagan, right? He had the television show that what's his name does now. But anyway,
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse
Which
Tyson.
also,
Thank
by
you.
the way,
Uh-huh.
I was going to talk about him. Remember when I said I wanted to pull up like a YouTube clip? It was him
Yeah.
talking.
Oh,
I
cool.
saw him with on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah, I
forget what
watched
that
it.
actually.
Yeah, I watched it too.
Oh yeah, it was just something random about something he said, but
Oh yeah.
not fitting for our conversation right now at all, so I won't bring it up. But just
Way to take
him
me
in
way
general.
offline. That's cool. What was it?
No,
Yeah.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's funny because every time I see a clip of him with a Joe Rogan podcast, I go to the comments and I look at what everybody's saying, and they're always so trash talking Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's funny. Not him personally,
That's
just
amazing.
like how he talks. They'd be like, the
Yeah.
only thing he loves more than physics is hearing himself talk.
Right,
And like
right.
another person, and I don't get it usually until like I see the comment and then I watch, and I'm like, oh my god, it's so true. The one comment was like, man, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he stops talking. So Joe Rogan can start so he can interrupt him again. I was like, that's so true because you watch the thing and he'll
Right.
stop and Joe will be like, yeah, but and he'll be like, boom, and then just cut him off into the sentence. It's like he's literally stopping just so he can cut him off.
I
It's
actually
hilarious.
didn't finish watching the Snowden interview for that same reason. Snowden is such a prick. I don't know. Maybe I need to go back and watch it again. But it wasn't a
I
a
didn't get that out of
podcast.
it.
What? He just sits there and you could tell there was rules set up to what he would agree and allowed to talk to and how he would talk before they even got on air. And I think they even referenced it once. But you could tell that Joe would start to say something and Eric would just get quiet, Snowden, and then act almost frustrated that he was interrupted and then carry on exactly where he left off in his handwritten speech. I don't know. He just came off very. I want to finish it because I'm curious about what he's seen. I also think he has an agenda of some scene. I'm not trying to get into the whole Snowden thing. I just felt like that. I don't know. I felt like he constantly was very interruptive and just expected that his whole time was just so he could sit there and explain his whole side, and Joe wasn't supposed to really communicate. But I did turn it off before the whole podcast, so maybe he loosens up.
I didn't
Further in.
watch the whole thing either, so I can't really say. I just watched a couple of clips and stuff. So maybe what you watched was the beginning, and what I watched
did.
was the end.
Right, and that's why I don't know, because maybe sometimes they loosen up as it goes along. But all the way back to the string theory thing, I just really want to get to one aspect of it that I just found really interesting. Again, supposedly every scenario ever happens, but one thing they were talking about is like, you're walking down the street, and you see like a car, and like, I want to steal that car, but you don't steal it. In another universe, you did steal that car. They're saying that it's quite possible that every single thought that you have is actually something that does happen, experience, or happen in another world. And I thought that that's almost kind of freeing in a way too, though. It's kind of cool because it might help you to be more in control because you're like, I don't need to steal that car. Not that I have a problem stealing cars. It's just an example. I don't need to steal that car because in another universe, I am stealing it. Boo! I'm good.
That's
But
cool. That brings me to a thing that really I can't talk about it because of spoilers, and I know you haven't watched this,
oh,
so I don't know how to tippy toe around this
oh,
because I don't think you have any interest in watching it, and I want to know if I could just spoil the crap out of it for you. So there's some Netflix shows.
uh-huh.
Have you watched everything on Netflix that you really want to watch?
No, I hardly ever watch that on Netflix. I always end up just watching The Office. Why?
All right, can I spoil a show for you, maybe?
I don't know. What's the show?
The show is The Russian Doll with that one chick from like.
I've watched part of it. I haven't finished it though. No, you can't spoil that. I haven't finished it. I'm trying to get through that. That's the one where she dies every day. It starts out with Crimson and Clover.
Well, Crimson and Clover.
It's a song. Never mind. You're not. Never mind. Never mind.
Yes, she dies every day, and then she.
Okay. Yeah. No, you can't spoil that. I haven't finished. I forgot I was watching that. Yeah, I even forgot about that show. Yeah.
I thought it was good. I liked it, and
Oh, I just need to watch it. I need to finish it.
it's not a big spoiler, as in like, it was just a thing they referenced in it. So.
Oh, if it's not a huge spoiler, I don't care. But
I don't know. You watch that show and you come back to me. And
all right, I know. I forgot about it though, honestly. So it's good you mentioned it because
I thought you watched it and you're like, it's crap. I'm not going to bother with it. So that's
no.
why
I was just like, I had other stuff I was watching. I have to prioritize.
Bring it up, but yeah. Boosh.
Gotta-
Okay, cool.
Gotta prioritize these things, you know.
Man, I really derailed our conversation there. Sorry.
Yeah, man. No worries. I just like the idea that in a
Knocked it off
string
the
theory
tracks.
universe where every single thought you have is actually happening in another universe
No,
timeline.
I don't like
theory.
that, man.
like
I have some weird thoughts sometimes. I'd be like,
So?
what's
What's wrong with that?
So in other universes, I'm like a crazy dude.
Yeah. There's a single of every single possible formula. It's an interesting idea. I'm not saying it's a belief thing, but it's interesting because if you stop, here's why it's interesting. There's a lot of religions and things that have places and things. For instance, like reincarnation, right? I mean, reincarnation. I mean, I get that it's different because you can come back as a bug or as a leaf or a grass, but it shares elements and thoughts of this. It's interesting, I think, when a bunch of religions, stories, whatever you want to call them, all point and have a lot of things really in common because it's pointing to some truth that maybe we don't have, but why else would they all align to that thing? There's something there that is just not better understood. Anyway, and I think that if you study string theory, that throughout a lot of different religions, there's some things that kind of tie in. Even their ideas of heavens and things, or sometimes what you merit in this life is what you get in the next life. Some of the stuff just kind of ties in interestingly with an entire string theory universe. So, with all possible scenarios happening.
I don't buy that there's an infinite number of universes, though. That just doesn't process in my head, man.
But you believe that the universe is infinite and always expanding? How is that any less? How do you process that?
I do believe the universe is infinite. I don't know. Maybe the universe folds in on itself, and you get to the end of the universe, and really you're at the other side. But it's not like you're transferring anywhere. It's just like a globe, like the Earth, unless you're a flat earther, and then it's like the other side of the flat Earth. Like,
wait! No! Flat earthers don't believe in a top and a bottom to the plate, right? We're just all on the top of the plate.
My point is.
Oh, okay. Wait, they don't believe in a bottom of the plate, though. Am I right? They just believe we're a top of a plate people, right? Spinning disc.
I thought they thought the bottom of the plate was being carried by a turtle or something.
Oh, right. But nobody lives down there, right? Whatever that is, yeah, sure. But nobody lives down there, right? We're not thinking like China is the bottom of the plate. Oh, see, the stupid music's on again. I swear it does. It's just they want to derail us.
No. The plate. No, nobody's. But I'm saying there would be a bottom of the plate, so technically you could drill a hole through the bottom of the plate, and you'd be down there. Whatever.
How deep is that plate?
I'm just saying.
Anyway,
I don't know. I don't know that I do believe the universe is infinite, and that you could just go to the end and past the end and just keep on going, or maybe, like I said, maybe it's like
how is there an end?
I mean, there's no end.
Which would be infinity.
Yeah, well, it loops. It would be like you get to the end, but really you're just at the other side now, because it's not just a flat thing, like curves. I think Einstein had a theory about the universe curving, and he had a telescope super powerful enough that could see forever. You put that telescope there, you point it just right, and you go, and you would see the back of your head because the
Yeah, that
light
was
from it
Einstein.
would curve around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that in that scenario, I mean, sure, the universe is infinite, but that's just because you're going around in circles. It doesn't mean there's infinite amount of mass in there. And if it is an infinite amount of mass, it's slowly growing with the infinite timeline thing. That means from this second to this second, an infinite amount of universes were just created, and they kept on going with an infinite amount of possibilities. And that infinite amount
Absolutely.
of possibilities had whatever stuff. So it means
Sure.
that there's a bunch of material and a bunch of energy that's being generated out of nowhere infinitely with like a bell curve that's crazy because every second turns into like even more like scenarios. So
It's
even
not
if
having
you
to be
had two
created.
scenarios,
It can't be created or destroyed energy, so therefore the energy is just being transferred. That echo is what's being picked up in the different universe, which is your echo, and now you're living it in a different way. That's it. It can't be created or destroyed. You're not creating more energy. Energy's eternal. You can't. It's nothing's created or destroyed.
well, energy isn't really eternal. Energy isn't necessarily a thing like a material.
Okay, yeah, because now we're talking
Okay,
about
so
things that's
there's
measured, but mass and everything
there's
is
this world
vibrations.
here, which means there needs to be the upside down, or like the reverse, the negative world, or whatever.
Bizarro
Because
world.
or the positive, or the negative, who knows? And then there's another positive or
Yeah,
negative on the
yeah,
other
man.
side.
Yeah.
But like, how it's just infinitely going. There's too many
Why not?
possibilities. It's too
Right.
much, man.
So you're saying that you're willing to accept multiple universes, but that there's a finite number of
Maybe,
multiverses?
yeah, maybe.
What would
Or
be the
maybe that not
determining
every
factor of a finite? What would limit that? Bandwidth? I mean, no, I'm trying to be silly,
Hey,
but no, but really, that was just for humor. But what would limit that? I'm not. I'm just curious. Just spitballing here. What would limit?
so another thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is
You're
one of
just
the
gonna pass over that?
Vsauce.
I wanted to
No,
know.
no.
Okay, it ties in.
No.
It's gonna
It's
tie
coming
in.
back. It's coming
Okay,
back.
all right.
One of the one thing that I
Vsauce.
randomly think about a lot is there's a Vsauce episode where he's talking about
A
whatever.
number
He talks
bigger
about
than infinite.
no,
Okay, sorry.
that's a different one.
All right, sorry. It's on task. That's why I said that. I'm sorry. He was talking about.
Maybe it is the number bigger than I don't know because he goes through a lot of stuff. But in this
Mhm.
specific one, he talks about CDs, and
Okay.
he's like, on this CD, I don't know if you've seen it. You can have like, let's just take 5 minutes worth of a CD, right?
Okay, sure.
And you have so many because we're going down to the binary. Here's the ones and the zeros. You have so many digits on that. You have so many ones and so many zeros in this 5 minute section of CD. It's a finite number, whatever the number is. If it's
Sure.
like a million ones and zeros, is way bigger than that, but it's a huge number. And like
Sure.
in that finite like that finite number, you have essentially infinite possibilities of what that recording could be. Like you have every single 5 minute recording that's ever happened or ever didn't happen or ever could happen or any possibility anywhere. 5 minutes of sound that's whatever, you can put it into those numbers. And like for some reason that's always stuck with me. Like that's there's only a limited number of things like positions those numbers could be in, but anything could be there. Like any audio clip ever would be recorded.
Sure, yeah.
Into that,
I get what
thing.
you're saying. So you're wrapping that back onto this multiverse thing that maybe there is almost an infinite, or there's any number of scenarios that could happen, but there's only X amount of space that it can happen in. So there's only going to be X amount of scenarios that take place because they can only fit into this amount of space.
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
So like it could be a very, very big number, but within big number, you have.
It doesn't matter the size of the number. We're getting a concept across. It could, the size doesn't matter at this point. What you're saying is that infinite possibilities, the limited number of space. All right, acceptable, agreed, because the universe isn't infinite
something
or
like
something.
that. I just don't think it's something along those lines more. And then to bring that into another like thing is, I mean, look at the speed of light. Like that's a finite number, and that thing moves fast. And they say, hey, you can't go faster than that.
It could though, if you can bend space and time, then it could go faster. We just don't know how. That's just the most we know how to measure it.
if you really want to get technical, that's as fast as you could go across a certain amount of space. And if you bend space and time, then you're just going a shortcut. So you're not going across that actual
You're still
physical
covering,
distance.
but you're still covering greater distance.
You're covering the greater distance, but the amount of distance you actually physically traveled was less.
Sure, absolutely. It's like going around a
So,
river or across it.
yeah, I'm just saying that the light is as fast as you could get. So, I mean, maybe there's there's a limit for
But we don't know
speed
that
of
light's
light.
the
There's
fastest, though. We don't know that. That's just all we have measurable. Could be something faster.
okay.
Could be something faster. We don't know. No, but
I don't think
logistically, right?
I don't think physics has anything that goes faster than light. They say light is the speed limit of the universe. Again, I think that's an Einstein quote. So
Again, but only what we've discovered, though. There's room for error, right? There's room for something. Right? 1,300 years ago, I mean, what, they didn't even have a printing press for Pete frickin' sakes. They just everything was talking.
But my point
right?
is, if light's as fast as, let's say, there's not anything.
Okay.
Light's the fastest you can get.
Okay.
Like just straight up speed wise, without doing any like wormhole stuff, just flat out.
Okay.
And the way you could look at it is like there's technologies like a CD, again, taking it back, like you can only spin a CD so fast until it explodes. So like, well, you can only pull the information off of it so fast. Like, well, no. You can spin it at the same speed, but you can make the lines that it reads smaller, so technically it's more information.
And now
off
you
of
can
each
add this
pass.
cooling system so it won't want to heat up to exploding levels. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's things that change.
So technically, well, I'm just saying, technically you're speeding the CD at the same speed, but you're getting more information, so you're getting it off faster than it was before, even though it's still spinning at the same speed.
Sure.
The fastest it would spin is a certain limit, and I think the light would be the fastest something can move without going to a different technology, for lack of better words.
Right, yeah. Sure.
Maybe how the universe works. I forget what my point is now, man.
It's all right. It was a fun trip. We just went all over. It was exciting.
I'm just saying, I don't think there's like infinite growing universes. There's like maybe within.
You think there's a finite number, but you do accept that there could be a possibility of a multiverse system in play. So back to what I was trying to talk about. I remember it. Back when we were trying to talk about SETI, I said Carl Sagan SETI. That's what took us off this whole tangent. When they're trying to establish it, they were like, hey, you know what? There's only X amount of parameters that we need to sustain life on a planet. And at the time, it was like 3. Like they need to have oxygen, it needs to have water, it needs to have an atmosphere. Whatever. I'm not quoting it exactly. There's 3 things, right? And that's all that we thought. So taking that, we plugged it in, however many worlds there are. So the possibility of other life out there was huge, right? And so because of this, they're like, oh, look at this number. Mathematically, it makes sense. Boom. SETI, we invented this. We're going to find it out there. But then once we start to better understand life here on Earth, we start to understand that there's a lot more things. It's not 3 things that are needed to sustain life here. There's actually something like over 200 different things that are required for a planet to be able to sustain life. Some things that you don't even think about, like you need a giant mass like Jupiter. Without a giant massive Jupiter, Earth would constantly be just being nailed by asteroids. But thanks to this giant gravitational pull of a huge planet close to us, but not too close to us, it pulls all the asteroids away. Things like this that are required for a perfect ecosystem for it to exist. So once you start adding in all these things, the number of possibility of worlds goes from this astronomically large number to, in fact, a lot smaller number of possible worlds that have life, because there's so much more to it that we didn't really realize. Anyway, it's just very interesting because here we are now in this modern age, and we something like that, Jupiter. Like, I mean, we couldn't have known that, even 150 years ago, maybe. I don't know when they discovered exactly. That's an important thing. But I told you back in the 60s, for Pete's sakes, they didn't really even know much about that. It's interesting, and I think that I don't know if we'll ever really understand any of it, honestly, right? We're always learning. We think we know something, and then we look into it a little bit more, and we're like, oh, it's that classic thing, at one time the Earth was.
That reminds me of another Vsauce video where he's talking about something, and he has a picture, and he's like, we're going to darken out the edges, and we're just going to light up this thing, and we're going to bring out the light so you see more of the picture. He's like, but the more of the picture you see, the more questions you get, because the more you understand. And they're like, what's going on this side? And it's like, what? And so the more you understand, the more everything doesn't make sense in a way.
Yeah, exactly. which
Have
all
more and
wraps
more
back into
questions.
what I was saying about us and growing older. Like when you're younger, you're very opinionated. You think you know X and Y, and then as you get older, the more you learn, the more questions you have, and the less you understand. I mean, it's just all kind of a big giant
Hey
circle
man,
of what we've been discussing tonight.
I've always said the first step to knowing everything is to realize you know nothing. So.
It's true. Everybody says that, though. That's a pretty common. It's a pretty
Yeah,
common
well, I mean,
saying.
I
You
didn't say
don't
it.
you don't
Didn't
own
say
it.
didn't say it was my quote. I just said I say it a lot, man.
I'm just saying it's a pretty common quote. It's not, let me pass on some wisdom to you, Jared. I'm just
I
messing
mean,
with. I'm just messing.
I never
No,
said
no,
I
no,
made
no,
it
no.
up.
I know.
I'm just saying, man.
I'm just
saying.
screwing. I'm just screwing with you.
Just
Which brings
saying.
all this around to one of the other things I actually did want to talk about, and that's a recent experiment that's been taking place. I posted on my Facebook for any of you people that like to follow along at home. Did you happen to look on this thing I posted about a tiny area of the brain may enable consciousness?
No, I saw that you posted it, and you're like, this is very interesting. I wonder what kind of repercussions this would have in the maybe medical field or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's cool, but I'm at work and I can't really read the thing. And then you know how Facebook is. I already looked at the thing, and it'll never ever show it to me ever again, ever, because it's like, you saw it once, buddy.
So, they've been doing tests on these monkeys. I'm gonna spell it because I know how to
You
say
know
it.
what's
I know how to say it,
interesting?
but I gotta get this out of the way. This is a disclaimer. I know how to say it. I need to spell it out because when I say it, you guys are gonna think I'm being perverted. The name of the monkeys is spelled. Let's see here if I can find it now.
Bonobos? That's
No.
pretty perverted, man.
Macaque, and it's called macaque. Okay, so the macaque
The
monkeys.
macaque, yeah.
They
Why is that perverted?
It's just some people are perverted.
But what does that sound like?
Reese
I
monkeys.
don't get it. I don't get it. What?
Reese monkeys are an offshoot of the. So you have Reese macaque and then you have macaque monkeys. So anyway, what they're doing is they've taken these monkeys, okay, right, and they're putting electrodes on their brain. They're trying to study the brain, all right. And what they do is, of course, the monkey's under anesthesia. It doesn't make this. I don't know. Whatever. You know what? We're not getting into the whatever morality. I don't care. This is interesting either way. Not that I don't care. It's not something we're going to discuss. Everyone has their own opinions. Zapping the brain. They just take electrodes and they're going across the brain, right? And frequency of 50 hertz, whatever. They're putting electricity into the brains, right? And as they zap different areas of the brains, they observe how the monkeys responded. When they got to the central lateral thalamus, all right, this is like a really small. It's kind of in the back. They zapped it, and the monkey, right under anesthesia, right? They were completely knocked out. They woke up. Not only did they wake up, their brain function resumed. They were still under anesthesia, and they were just instantly up, instantly aware, starting to reach for things. Okay, they switched it off. They stopped electrocuting that part of the brain, and then they were instantly back out and completely under the spell of this anesthesia.
Mm-hmm.
So they think they found the area that literally stimulates consciousness. So I mean, think about how amazing that is. All right, here's a clinical application. You're like, oh, big deal. What's that mean? People are in comas. We still don't know why people go into comas. If we could sit there, we could just like, boom, wake up, bro. Hey, what the heck's going on? You know what I mean? And they could maybe explain things to you. You'd be able to understand. You'd maybe be able to bring them out of the coma. So there's a lot of neat implications for. There's a ton more than that, but also just the fact that they found an area of the brain that. But it's over. It spawns consciousness. I mean, that's interesting. I don't know. What do you think? What's your thoughts? That's the whole study. I find it fascinating.
That there's a spot in the brain that causes consciousness. I mean, where do you think consciousness came from in the first place?
No. But consciousness overriding even what we know to completely render right. So is that what it is? Is that the subconscious that they're playing with? Thank you. You're getting. I knew you would take it in a way.
I read something, and it's really interesting that you bring it up because maybe I saw the Facebook thing, and it just made me start thinking about it. And that's why I was thinking about it. But like, I forget what it was. Is that there's like only a couple animals have like a consciousness. Like there's two parts of the brain. They call it one in like the lizard brain or something. That's yours. I don't know. But you have two consciousnesses, right? You have the subconscious and your consciousness.
Okay.
And I think I saw something that's really like just two different like parts of the brain is two different thought processes. So it makes complete sense. There's a part there that you can mess with, and it's going to mess with your actual consciousness. I've been thinking about it a lot lately because I think a lot of people, like, the part of your brain that's the subconscious is a huge part. Like, that's most of what you got going on.
I was thinking that too, because you always hear this BS about we only use 10% of our brain, blah 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 blah, which we all know is BS. But maybe everyone doesn't know it, guys. That's false. If you hear that, it's a lie. We use a lot more than that. But I go back to you. When you do scans of the brains, not all of it's lighting up. Maybe a lot of it's not, because I agree with you. Maybe a lot of that is used and is a subconscious thing. For instance, don't lose what you were going to say, but when we close our eyes, our brain creates new waves that you can't measure any other time. It's called the alpha wave, right? So you got omega waves, and every time you close your eyes, literally as soon as you close your eyes, if I have the electrodes on your head, to read
would this be every time I blink?
Nope, not blinking. Eyes have to be closed. Eyes have to be closed, whether you're conscious, unconscious. Once your eyes are closed, an alpha wave starts, and it literally just lets me know if your eyes are closed. What is that? Where's that come from? Why doesn't it start just upon the eyes closing? Just interesting stuff like that. Anyways,
that sounds like it'll be like, okay, your visual that's actually. Do blind people have this alpha wave going on all the time because they can't see, or is it literally connected to the?
I don't know. I haven't looked into that. That's amazing. Is it? You think it's an eyelid situation, or is it? I don't know. I have to look into that.
I was assuming it would be a sight situation. I was thinking you close your eyes has nothing to do with like the thing. Like if you put your hands over your face but have your eyes physically open, but everything's black, will those go off? And I was just thinking that sounds. I don't know anything about anything, but it just sounds like your brain kind of going, okay, now we're going to switch from processing visual stuff that we see with our eyes to now we're going to imagine like visual, like map it out like Daredevil style. And that's like that alpha wave thing going off. Going, okay, we're trying to do our like, internal sight kind of thing. I don't know, imagination, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, no, maybe. Just trying to make sense of the world around you.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if that happens with blind people.
I could definitely look into it more. My little information about that only comes because I did a couple rotations in the sleep lab. So the sleep lab is, because I'm a respiratory therapist, we take people and we see if you have sleep apnea and problems like that. So we put a lot of electrodes on your brain, and so because of that, I was in the lab, and that's where they were teaching me about the alpha wave. So I haven't looked into it a lot more, but I would be curious to look into it and look into some more of those points.
The brain is one super like untapped territory in the people, but I've been going back on thinking, like I was saying before, with the subconscious, the conscious. Somebody was talking about something with it being two very distinct separate parts of your brain, and it just kind of clicked with me, and I realized, like, I think the subconscious is the huge main part of your brain doing basically everything, and the conscious part is literally the only part that's like, nah, we're going to change something here. Like, that's your free will. That's your part of being like, we're going to go.
That's your operating system, and all the real stuff's in the back. So that's the Windows 10 is what we're using, and then everything behind the scenes is the rest of your brain, is your subconscious, is what the computer's actually doing.
Well, I think if you're going to talk about that 10%, I think 90% of your brain is subconscious, 10% is subconscious. But I think about like things that you go through, and you'd be like, what surprises me is the amount of things that you can do subconsciously. I never really thought about it before, but like, if you're taking a shower, sometimes they say that's really good because it's something you do all the time, and that's where you have a lot of ideas that come from because your brain's just.
You're not focusing on your body and all that. You're doing a menial task.
But you think about it, you'd be like, I don't pay attention at all, and I'd be like, but I clean my entire body and do all this stuff subconsciously. I'm not thinking about any of it. That was just completely controlled by a subconscious brain. And that gets me to also think, be like, I wonder if there's just some people out there that just don't really have a consciousness. Like, they're just complete subconscious people walking around. Because I think of how, like, I don't really think that's how it is, but think of how much complex stuff you can do while you're actually thinking about something else. Like, you take a shower, that's pretty complex. Anytime you zone out, think of how complex.
Honestly, just driving. Think about what you're doing when you're driving.
Yeah.
And you get to a point and you're like, how did I get here? But it's because you take it every day and you're like, I don't even remember
Yeah,
the
and it's
last
not
10
even like you're
miles.
not paying
No,
attention. If
no, no,
somebody
no.
jumped
Eyes
out
on
in
the
front of you,
road.
you'd still
Yeah,
like
you would stop
brake
immediately.
and
You
do
got
all that
both hands
stuff.
on the wheel.
Yeah.
You weren't distracted. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that you do this every single day, so this isn't something you focus on. You're not saying, okay, Jared, put your foot over the brake. Okay, put it over the gas. Okay, check your mirrors. Okay, turn on your blinker. Oh, okay, hit your windshield
Yeah, it's
wiper.
all
Oh,
your
okay.
subconscious
You're
is
doing all that, and you're thinking, okay, when I get to work today, the first thing I have to do is. But yeah, exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
very
it's just
complicated
interesting to me
task.
because it's like
You're
your
doing something that could
subconscious is
kill you or yourself in seconds, and you're just not even thinking about it. You're just like, all right, let me address what I really need to worry about. No, your life's in your heads. Not that I'm saying that we should, but you know what I mean? It's hilarious to think about.
well, yeah, I think that's what it's getting as your subconscious is thinking about it. So your
Right, it
subconscious
is.
like,
It's
oh,
like.
is that, is that, blah, blah, blah. But you're not even aware of what that part of your brain is even thinking about. Like it's just
Right.
weird. It's
Right.
whatever, and it's just something I've been thinking about lately. That's how
Interesting.
complex stuff that you can do, and then you don't even like think about do. Like how
Right,
so that
or
makes
maybe that's what they're calling like muscle memory at times too. It's not muscle memory. Your brain's under there like it's not muscle memory. You know how hard I remember to work this and I remember, you know what I mean? This is hard work. It's not muscle memory. I had to memorize this pattern. This is very strenuous, and we're just like, I don't even think about it. I'm doing nothing. You know, your subconscious like, stop, please.
yeah, man. I think muscle memory is just your subconscious. And it's
Right.
just,
It's like, oh, fine, I'll do it for you. Won't you focus on other things? Don't worry, I've still got your heart beating.
so yeah.
Could you imagine if your subconscious was just like, oops, oh, I forgot to beat.
Yeah. Well, that's an involuntary muscle. I think the heart beating would be different. But yeah,
It is,
yeah,
but
that's
you
my
can
point.
control it. You can control it. There's a diver
Well,
that does it.
that's a choice. That's when you break into the consciousness, man.
Which
So
is
it
what
makes
brings
sense
back
to me
to this
that
third eye.
your unconsciousness is the huge part of your brain. Because think of all that
Right.
crap it's just taken care of all the time, and your consciousness is the part that's like, what do I want to eat for dinner?
Right.
Meanwhile, you're like, I don't even know. And if you think of like elite athletes or people like performers on stage and stuff, and like musicians and people who anything they do like repeatedly, they get really into like some complex stuff,
Yeah.
and they're not even thinking about it. You know,
Yeah, no, it's very true. It's very true.
it's just interesting to me. Like, I wonder if you really, because it comes back to that other, like one of those theories. It's like, how do you know everybody else is actually a person? Like, how do you know they're not just some, like,
Right. It's a figment of your imagination and your brain in the jar, like we were
doesn't
alluding
have
to
a
earlier.
brain,
Right.
or whatever. It's like, I don't
Right.
know, man.
Well, but honestly, how do you know any of that? Honestly, any of it? How do we know red is red? I mean, all of that. There's just
I don't
so
know about
much.
red is red, but I'm pretty sure I could break down some things that could prove that you're not part of my memory.
How? How can you do that? Let's do that. Let's do that exercise. All right. So here's an old theory. It goes back a long time. It's been updated over time. Back in Socrates' times, it was that we were brain in a jar. Everything around us is just our brain creating simulations. I'm not talking to Eric. I'm talking to myself. Or in Eric's version, he's talking to himself. Whatever. Nothing exists, right? So how would you disprove that? Because it's really easy to prove that it is true. So prove that it's not true. Go. I think it's easy to prove it's true. So debunk that. Prove to me you're not a brain talking to yourself right now, imagining that you're doing a podcast.
A brain in a jar.
Or so the updated version is obviously that you're plugged into a machine, a la Matrix. You're plugged into a computer.
Simulation.
You're running a simulation.
Yeah.
There's a million different things. But back in Socrates' time, it started with a brain in a jar, and we've updated it nowadays for this same concept.
Well, actually, it's two very different things to be in a simulation or a brain in a jar. If the brain in the jar, that would mean that everything is coming from my own mind. If it's a simulation, that means there's things that are coming from a different place, like a server, like a computer server. In that situation, I could not disprove it. But if everything is coming from my mind, there's just things that don't make sense.
Why would it make sense? Go.
What do you mean? Like, why? The most obvious one is, how would you be telling me things that I don't know about?
How do you not know it? You do know it. You're just telling yourself you don't know it as you tell yourself that. Here's how I'll answer that. There's people that walk among us called paranoid schizophrenics that do have other personalities, bipolar schizophrenics, that multiple personality disorders, right? Things like this that literally have other people inside of them. That there are ones that do know what's going on and other ones that don't know what's going on. So your brain literally already does this all the time with some mentally ill people. They literally have characters that have to take and absorb certain kinds of trauma because the one that they think that they're protecting, but they're shielding themselves by creating these partitions or different personalities, if you will. They're protecting their inner self, and parts of them don't know about other parts. There's if you study them, they're really interesting. We have somebody we know who is one, so it's something that's a constant thing. But it's interesting because there's parts that there'll be usually like an overlord one that knows everything that's going on, and that's not even the real person. That's the one protecting the real person. And then there'll be other individual ones, and sometimes they all know about each other. Some of them all know about each other ones. They don't all. It's interesting. Anyway, so you already protect yourself that way. The brain can already do crazy stuff like that. It has knowledge. It has conversations. It lives out things that other parts of your brain never know about. So it already does exist, even if none of this is, if life is what we know it as. Your brain already does do it, things you don't know.
So how would my question? I never even really thought about it that much, but that is a good point. To that, I would say, like, for schizophrenic people, like, is there a upper limit of how many personalities they can have?
The most we know of anybody has been Sybil, and she had, I think, 18 personalities. So that's pretty severe.
So 18 is quite a bit. Could you go to 36? Could you have 36 personalities?
I don't know. Sure, why not? I mean, maybe that's only 18 that they deciphered. Who knows? Maybe there was more. Who knows?
What about 37? Do you think she could have 37 personalities?
Okay, Jim. Yes, it's all very quite possible. You still haven't disproved that you're a brain in a jar, though.
I'm saying, sure, coming up with 18 personalities is one thing, but coming up with how many people are on this planet?
Oh, you want to do that? You haven't come up with that many. Have you talked to that many different personalities? No, you haven't. In fact, you know what's funny?
Start talking to people.
But you know what's funny? If you stop and you start thinking back, there's a lot of people that you've run into that have very shared certain things. In fact, you'd even consider them a lot of the same type of persons. Why is that? It's your brain regenerating, creating a glitch.
Like
recycling storylines. Right.
No. People that look similar, and I'd be
all over.
I feel like there's only like maybe 30 different types of people, and everybody's just a variation of one.
Right.
Of those
it's like the me maker.
types.
It's like the me maker, man. There's only so many you can do. Yeah, go nuts.
And you got doppelgangers that look like twins.
Exactly. This is exactly my point. It's honestly a hard theory to disprove. Honestly, I don't think we are brains in a jar, but when you start getting into the nitty gritty, it's not easy to prove you're not. It's really not.
Well, it's unfalsifiable. But the other things are like mathematics. I could pull up a mathematic on my calculator on my computer, do some crazy mathematics, and you're saying my brain just like figured it out instantly.
Who says it means anything?
Slow it down. Huh?
Who says it means anything? Your brain's saying that you're taking these numbers and it equals something, but in the real world, if you weren't a brain in the jar and they took those numbers, maybe it means nothing. Just like taking a person who's high or drunk, recording their conversation. You don't know that if you're a brain in the jar. It's something you've created.
So I created mathematics in my brain.
Just in your brain in your jar, and it probably doesn't work at all if it's given in the real world. And the math that you know and that I know isn't the same because you just think I know your math because you've created math, and this person that you know that you're conversing with right now knows your math because it's your head. So of course I know math. So you think we all agree on math because you're talking to yourself. But math isn't a thing. That's just your perception.
Even if math's not a thing, all my stuff works out. I could come up with
Of course it does. Of course it does. Have you seen The Number 23, the movie The Number 23? Everything he did, the number 23 would pop into his life, and he saw that meaning everywhere. Same thing, man. Your brain.
Different.
It's not. Of course it's going to work out. Look, if I create something for it to work out, of course, why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't you want it to work out in every single way? If you're creating exactly how you want this thing to turn out, you're going to be like, oh, darn, every time it fails. No, your brain's going to make it work. That doesn't prove that you're not a brain in a jar.
the number 23 is about finding a 23 everywhere, and you look everywhere, and you're like, does this have it? No, but this does.
Correct.
No, if you go with mathematics, if I come up with a crazy mathematic application, I'm like, okay, here's the answer. That's the answer. Let's see if the way to get there makes it match. It does.
Of course it
Let's do it again
does.
with a different number, and boom, it's still going to match with that thing. I'm not changing any of the formulas.
You're running a fake simulation, so it's going to equal what you want it to equal.
1 + 1 isn't going to equal 2 one day and 3 the next day, so it's still a solid path.
Because that's what you've established in your own brain, so you could create your own
with
constant
my mathematics
universe.
That I established, I can come up with crazy scenario that would take hours to figure out and have it instantly answered.
Of course.
And
Of course, because it's your brain, so it's going to be fine. You're not going to find the problems. Okay, look at it like this. Okay, you're looking at a problem, right? The whole world does it all the time with their entire life. The problem is obvious to everybody else. If they would just get that guy out of their life. Whatever, pick what it is. And you look at your whole life and you can't figure out what's wrong with it. It's the same thing. You're going to sit there and create something, and of course you're not going to necessarily see why the math actually wouldn't work out in a different scenario. It's always going to work out because you've created this thing, and in your mind, this is how you justify your universe. So it's always going to work out in your favor to allow your brain to continue your existence. It's the same way multiple personalities. Again, going back to that, it has to exist in their world that Timmy doesn't exist at this point in time, and only Elsa is in charge. I don't know. I'm just coming up with names. Your brain already does this thing, so it allows people to live inside of one person. So same thing. Of course your math's going to, of course it will. You need something to continue your delusion. So you're going to be like, see, here's something benign that doesn't matter in my world because I'm a different brain in a different jar. What's math? There's people that don't know anything about math. Math doesn't work. They don't understand math. It doesn't, right? Different.
Well, math is a made-up thing by people anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's just a thing. What I'm saying,
exactly.
You have to go through that huge process to get to the answer.
But you don't have to. Your brain tells you have to so it can justify the story it's telling itself.
Why would it tell it myself about that math? If I could come up with answers like that just that quick off my brain, why does my computer take a minute to boot up? Why can't it just be like, here you go.
Maybe it doesn't take it. It doesn't take it. All that's in your head. None of it does. How is it that you can be asleep?
Why would I have to wait for my computer to boot up, man? If it could just boot it right away, that doesn't make any sense in any of the thing, man.
Because you have to create stability for anything to work. There has to be creative stability. Even just to have a regular life, you have to have routines. You have to have things work a certain way. When things work out of that way, it throws your life into a disarray. Your brain's going to do the same thing. It likes patterns. A brain is set up to recognize patterns, right? We know that from studying animal brains all the way down to insect brains. The brain is set up to study patterns. It finds, evolves, looks at patterns. That's what you're doing. You're going to create a pattern.
What does fast have to do with the pattern, man?
It's a pattern. Every day you know that loading that computer is going to learn slow. That helps you to create a consistency in your life.
I could have a pattern of it going fast. If I can do mathematics that fast in my brain, why is my computer struggling on it?
I don't know. That's your brain. That's your brain. That doesn't prove anything,
if this scenario, you're part of my brain. You tell me about my brain.
I don't have all the answers because this part of your brain doesn't know everything. You have to go to another part of your brain, which you'll call a doctor. I'm doing air quotes, and that doctor will help to enlighten you more on why your brain works that way. But it's really just you giving you more information, and a way you can accept it, believe it, and keep a false universe alive is by having a doctor that does know more. And you just always try to figure out the truth, but never quite reaching it. It's how you keep the falsehood alive. It's how you keep the brain alive. It has to be able to think it's alive and serving a purpose. So yeah, you create it.
No, because I'm going to talk about other things. You'd be like, well, your memory could just change on the dime. So
it does
anything
change.
That you remember could just be like, poof, nope, that's how it's always been.
It does change. The Mandela effect. The Mandela effect. We were just talking about that. And false memories. We were just talking about that.
Yeah, no, but Mandela effect is like more vague things, specifics, everything, little thing. And like this room, I just remember it. I know it's all there, and my brain just stores every single position of everything here, and I just always remember it to be there. And I remember
you see it all day, and you're dealing with it every day. Yeah.
I don't necessarily in this room all day, but I'm just saying there's all these little tiny things in this room, and my brain remembers perfectly.
Sure.
Every single little one of those things has been perfectly.
Why not?
Every time.
It does, though, right now, right?
That's a lot of crap to remember. My brain doesn't remember stuff like that normally in my everyday life.
Yes,
don't
it
have the
does. How do
photographic
you
memory.
no? How do you remember how to spell how do okay? If I start playing
I'm
a
talking
song,
about
if I start playing Twinkle Twinkle
photographic,
Little
man. I'm
Star,
not saying.
if I start playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, you know the words. When was the last time you sung that? Okay, you have kids now. That's not fair.
Yesterday.
Before kids, you never sang that. Why is that still in there? How do you meticulously remember that? The tune, how it goes, or how about Boys to Men?
That's
I'll
one
make
thing.
love
That's a
to you.
song,
I
man.
don't know.
That's
No, no,
just
no, no. Okay, any of
memory.
that, any of that,
No,
any
no, no,
of
no.
that.
No. I
It's
mean,
all the
the
same.
devil's in the details, man. I'm talking about details, very
No,
finite
the
details,
details aren't
all
the
across
same.
the
You don't
world
know that they
that
are always in the same
never
spot.
change.
That's why you
That's
have a glitch.
that's my point.
That's why you can't
That's my
find
point.
things.
That's why I started off with you're gonna tell me. So a problem I have a lot with like debates and stuff is a lot of times I won't even make a point. So sometimes like they're like, what about this? I'm like, nah, I don't know. And they're like, see, you got nothing. But really in my mind, I'm like, here's my 17 different scenarios, but I've already like
Yeah, you play
knocked them off
chess.
with
You play chess match, and you already know how that answers, so you're going to counter with this answer, so he's going to counter. Yeah, that's chess. I do
I
that
don't
all the
even
time as
bother with
well.
that. Yeah, that was just me with the memory thing. I was like, yeah, all this stuff is not going to change, but you're just going to tell me that my memories change.
But it's not
And
even
if you
that.
really want to get into it,
It's the
if you
fact that
really,
but think about a book. You can read a book and you have a vivid retells of the book. You can go out and quote movie lines like it's nobody's business. Your brain does just hold on to insane amounts of details in a finite way. Why the heck can you still recall the Independence Day speech? Why your brain does
all
do this
right,
already.
hold on. I gotta head downstairs. Just keep on talking, man. Pretend like you're
All
Joe
right.
Rogan while I'm gonna pee.
So
Okay?
your brain
Yeah.
does that already. It already holds a vast amount of information that you can easily recall at any time, and you shouldn't be able to. That's my whole point. Anyway, I don't believe you're a brain in a jar. It's a fun exercise. There's not a real good easy way I've ever yet to discover to prove a way out that no, as a matter of fact, your brain is what you are really experiencing. We don't know. There's just anyway. It's fun. It's a fun exercise. Obviously, I don't think that's true, but it can really mess with some people and give them a sense of what is life. I don't know. So, new things else going on in the world right now. Everything's up in the air with the streaming services. I don't know if anyone's gotten the new Disney streaming services. I'm torn with this. There's some amazing aspects to it. I like the fact that, okay, so for right now for Netflix, for me to have it, everybody in the house has Netflix. So you have to pay more a month just to have it on more screens, if you will, right? But the Disney one, it's I think 10 screens for the regular $7 you pay for a month anyway. My thing is, there's just so many glitches and bugs I've been having with Disney Plus. I don't know if anyone else runs into these things. It frustrates the heck out of me. Comments and texts to the show right now while we're listening or talking on our Facebook page. But one of the things we experience all the time is the picture will pause and the audio will continue to go. And either sometimes it'll rewind back and pick up where the picture froze, or sometimes it'll play fast through the pictures getting and syncing back up with the audio, or sometimes it just pauses completely and then starts back anyway. It happens literally every time we're streaming anything ever, period. I haven't not had it happen yet. So I find that to be a huge flaw with the Disney Plus. I was going on about one of the problems with the Disney Plus, and its streaming is not of a high quality caliber. I think like everybody else.
I don't have any issues with it other than a lot of the times it'll pause when you first start a movie.
Yep.
It'll stop and you'll hear the sound, and then
yeah,
it'll catch the movie up to the
yeah. I was just saying that it does it every time we watch with the kids all the time. But sometimes you miss parts of the scenes.
I just realized downstairs they can all hear what you're saying right now.
That's awesome. They're all listening to it. They're like, "What is this nonsense?"
Anyway.
Yeah, so I just none of the other streaming services.
Finish it up here in a second. So.
Oh, are we wrapping it up already? Oh, wow, that was quick.
Well, unless you want to do a part 2, but
I
gotta watch the kids and stuff for a second here. So
yeah.
We can have this be like, "Hey, man, this was our return. Here's part 2," but we do part 2 in a little bit.
No, I mean, no, because we'll probably get on in game. I'm sure everyone's getting ready to get on and start gaming and stuff anyway. It's
Yeah,
already
it's a
10 at
good time
night, so
to wrap it up. I didn't want to get into the
I
whole. Look, if you really
guess.
want me to like debate the head in the jar thing, I would have to come up with some
I
like sit
would
down and
too.
think about
It
it.
was
But
off the cuff stuff. We could if it's a fun exercise. Maybe people find it really boring.
I
I
think
just think it's
I
neat
think
because it's kind of really hard to disprove. I've spent my life thinking about it just for funsies here and there as a
it's
mental
just an
exercise.
unfalsifiable thing. That's funny though
Sure.
because Joe Rogan, his what's his name? I said Brian Green or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, they were talking about that too, and he was saying something about unfalsifiable things. He's like a lot of physicians and science people like they take that and they look at it and they're like, "That's stupid. You're stupid for talking about that because you can't prove it's wrong. So why waste your time?" And he's like, "I like talking about that stuff. Like I went to Elon Musk and I talked about we're all in a simulation. And like, why would you talk about that instead of like rockets?" And he's like, "It's just fun, man. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you need that like." uh Even just talking about that'll give you ideas about other stuff too, like it's a good exercise to
I think it's a good mental exercise as well. I find it enjoyable, but I also think I don't know. It just helps you. It gives you a better perspective just on everything. If you can work your way around and think at things
but
from a different angle, I think it's very advantageous to life.
I think we should have an exercise where we debate the earth being flat.
We could, yeah. Which you would want to take on
I
the
want to be
flat
the
Earth?
flat earther. Yeah, the
That could
flat
be fun.
earther.
That could be fun. I don't know,
I
man.
think it would be
I'd
fun.
really have to study up
The
then.
reason the reason I said that though is because I saw another podcast where they're like, "Oh, we're gonna talk about flat earthers, and you're gonna be thinking it's a round Earth, and I think it's a flat Earth, and we're gonna have this conversation." I was like, "Oh, cool."
We could
And then
do
they
stuff
started
like that.
doing
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
and they started doing it though, but the flat earther in the podcast didn't take it seriously, and that kind of took me like, ugh. Because he'd be
Yeah.
like, "Oh no, it's round," because he's like, "Okay, well, this is the part where me as a flat earther,
No,
apparently
no,
I
no,
believe
no, no,
that."
no, no. Don't do that. Own it. No, own it. You're now a flat earther. Own it. And we would do that fine.
He
We're
would
good
be
at
like,
playing devil's
but
advocate.
like,
That's what we just did. That's what we
no,
just did.
that's what
Yeah,
that's
we'd be
what
good
messed
at
it up
that.
for me because
No,
he would
yeah.
be like, "Here's
Yeah.
my," but this is a stupid argument, but this is what we
Right.
think. Like, and I'm like, no,
No.
like,
No, if you want to
I
do that,
think
put the disclaimer at the beginning, like it's an A&E special about Scientologists, and at every commercial break, just put the disclaimer. But then when you're on the show, just play it like it is. Don't just
no,
own it.
that's what I wanted to do. I think that would be fun to take a thing that I
Yeah.
already like. Okay, I'm pretty. I
Both
don't
of
know
us
if you're
agree the
touching
Earth
on-
is round and flat Earth is ridiculous, but it is a fun, interesting
I love
argument.
messing with you about
Oh,
it. I just
I know, because it's hilarious that it exists in this day and age with all the evidence to point
But
otherwise. So yeah, it's fun.
yeah, no, there's some other things. I think I don't know. Again, talking like you were saying about just being able to work around problems and the unfalsifiable things. I think another
Yeah.
thing that's very valuable is to take a subject that you're very opinionated about and you believe about, like, okay, the Earth is definitely round. All right, now argue that it's flat. And I think
Yeah.
that taking that other side and
Yeah.
arguing the other person's side just really helps with a lot of.
No, I
things.
agree
think it's
100%. I've always liked to play devil's advocate for that very specific reason. It is fun to
I
just
love-
be like, let me do it from the other side.
I love to do that personally. I like to do that on the abortion subject, which I don't know that we want to get into that.
Yeah, we try and stay away from
podcast.
political stuff just because it's too divisive, and we're not trying to. You
In
can
fact,
find.
so much. I'm not even going to tell you what side I take on that, but no, I
It's
like
just.
to
It's so
view
hateful
the
out
other
there.
side.
Yeah, no, I do that
Like,
with
yeah, I
everything.
like to view the
I
other
do too.
side, man.
I do too with everything. I just think here's the thing. It's the same thing as like getting your news. And again, we're not going to politics, but I get my news from all sides because if you can't look at things from all sides, then you actually don't have a very clear understanding of your position because you don't know what the other
Yeah, I
positions
know.
are.
You got to look at the other side to have a concrete like decision that this is what I believe. And sometimes, almost hopefully, you want to go to the other side and be like, you know what? Maybe I want to believe this side. So let's look at all the things.
Right.
Let's really dig into it. Like,
Agreed. I agree.
maybe. I'll be honest. When it comes to the abortion, I didn't say I was gonna. I don't want to get into it at all, really. But I'm a pro-life person, and a lot of times I like to look at the other side. I'd be like, you know what? Honestly, I would really like to be able to, in my mind, justify like a pro-choice like kind of situation because that would, in a way, like ease my mind. If I could believe that, like that situation perfectly, I'd be like, okay, then I don't care. All these abortions are going on. It's what it is. But
Right.
I can't. I've already talked about it with you. I can't get past that one. Like it's a baby, but That's all I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, we won't
subject.
have to get into that too much. Just because, again, we don't want all the hate and the stuff that comes with it. The whole internet is full of that, and I think there's plenty of places to go and get. And I love politics. Anyone who knows me knows I'll really get into it, but
I
that's not
know.
what this is for.
I want to talk. We got to talk about other stuff off the podcast.
Yeah.
Remind me.
Actually, I need
make
to
a
wrap
YouTube
this up now,
channel.
too, that you mentioned that, because I have to go run and take care of something. So.
I want to make an informational YouTube channel. And I was
Yeah. We were going to talk about that.
Yeah, I want to do some stuff. And I was like, you know what? One of the things I wouldn't want to tackle is like climate change, because again, that's like a hot topic. Just I don't want to deal with that stuff, man.
No. Keep talking. Yes.
Anyway, yeah, that's all I really had to say there. So now that I have to keep talking, he's going to make it really awkward. I like to imagine right now he's going to the bathroom and he's peeing and he's urinating. And if he were to have his mic on right now, it would be really loud, and you would just hear like just like dumping gallons and gallons of water into the toilet. It would just be loud and awkward and stuff like that. But what I was talking about is I'm thinking about setting up a YouTube channel, like an informational, like educational videos and stuff, just in the vein of like an old Vsauce. Or there's actually a lot of channels that do educational stuff now. I just think it'd be fun to get a subject, dive into it, and really come to a complete conclusion of whatever I'm trying to ask in the video. But I don't have a lot of time, so the thought process would be really put time into one video and not release a lot of videos at all, but the ones we do release be very good videos.
Then that goes back to the issue with all the editing, though.
No, see, this is where I want to talk. Do you know the YouTuber Mark Rober?
I do not.
Okay, I think you would like his videos. His most famous one, I think, is his glitter bomb video.
Yes, where he built that entire device and it had the GPS tracker on it and everything. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. It's so cool.
You've probably seen some of his stuff, but he talks about in his videos all the time about how he only makes like 12 videos a year, right? But he lives off of his YouTube like channel. Like he does 12 videos a year, and that's his career is YouTube. That got me thinking. I was like, you know what? You don't need to be pumping out videos all the time on YouTube, really. If you make just a really good one every so often, like that's enough, man. He's got a lot of he's got I don't know how many. He's got a couple million like subscribers and stuff like that, and he legit like that's a video you always want to click on and watch and be like, cool, but he doesn't release a lot of videos because he puts time into it. And that's like the kind of mentality I would want to take, because I don't have a lot of time for editing. We don't have a lot of time for whatever, but hey, man, just release one video every couple of however long, weeks or whatever, however long it takes, and just make each video be a good video and not have this is our set upload schedule. You know what I mean? That would be the approach I would take on it.
Yeah, I can see that. But you'd still have to have some sort of goal, because otherwise it's just not going to happen. So you'd have to have a schedule in the sense that...
Well, that's why I say with like him, he did like the 12, but like let's shoot for like a once a month video, like a month. I think we could make a video in a month. You know what I mean? Or even if it's not that, like every 6 weeks, like figure out how long it's going to take to realistically make a video.
Right.
And do it.
Yeah.
I already have an idea. I mean, I don't want to talk about this. Anyway, we gotta go. So we talk about it more when we start gaming, man.
Sounds good.
I got ideas. But that's it for I guess this episode of the podcast. Hopefully everything went smoothly and there's not too much music going on in the background of us talking, and all the other technical issues are not super blatant. And yeah. Looks like we've been streaming for 71 minutes, so it's a little over an hour.
What? This is our shortest stream yet.
I wrote down when we started like over an hour and a half ago, so I don't know how accurate that is.
Oh, really?
Anyway.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's it. I don't remember what the outro is, and I don't think I was ever good at that. So.
Nope. It was always fun and awkward on the way out. Yay! Time for awkwardness. I guess that's it.
Right,
look
out.
for us. See yas. I, it's, I don't even know how to turn off the stop it. Oh gosh, it's just getting worse by the second. All right, we'll end this somehow. How about now?